Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan, and we got a big panel tonight to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. We're going to tell you how we felt about Deadpool 3, Deadpool and Wolverine, and I can't believe it's already upon us finally. To my left is my son Jayson. You're not going to say anything? You're just waving? What if people are just listening?
I was trying
not actually watching the stream.
I was trying to think of something cutesy to say, but I couldn't think of anything. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Underneath us on your screen there is our good buddy John.
Hello.
And then over here is Austin. The day goes.
The other way. Not to your far left.
Not for me. Not for the viewers at home.
Oh, but
I'm looking at what they're looking at, folks.
When that music started playing, I was like, what does this have to do with Deadpool? And then I had like a flashback to hearing the first 3 notes of the song as I quickly ran up and ran to the washroom. The second movie ended.
Spoilers. That song is in this movie. We'll talk later when we get into spoilers about where and why. But anyway, there's Austin, and underneath Austin is Robert.
Hello.
I feel like Robert and John. I feel like I should start like calling you guys by your last names, just so that it doesn't sound so like anticlimactic when I say yours. And then there's John. You know, resolve the chord. It feels like it wants something. Anyway,
he's Mr. A79 or
big
whatever the
group
heck
tonight. Oh, that's right. We could just be
is Mr.
A79
A79
as a subject. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We've got a big group tonight to talk about Deadpool and the Wolverine, or the I keep wanting to say and the Wolverine. I don't know why. Like
it's Deadpool and Friend.
That's what it was almost called.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are aware of this.
And they had like already shipped like a bunch of like cardboard standees that said Deadpool and Friend.
Yeah, the title leaked, and then they decided they had to change it, and I'm not sure why the leak made them decide they couldn't just stay with the name.
Everyone hated it.
Yeah, I remember when it leaked, and there was a lot of people being like, what? And Friend? That's dumb.
Remember when we all thought that
I think it's
Deadpool
funny.
2 was... I think it's funnier, too. Remember when we all thought that Deadpool 2 was going to be called the untitled Deadpool sequel?
Yeah.
Well, this
and
film
I really
had
wish,
that too for
really
a
wish
long
they
time.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah, because for the longest time, this was also just untitled third Deadpool movie.
I wish it had. It would have been wonderful. A lot of folks really, really stoked about this movie, finally seeing Hugh Jackman come back after he said he never would. A lot of people are also angry about the fact that he decided to come back, and that seeing it as too gimmicky, even for this kind of thing, overly commercial, and like MCU is real desperate in trying to sell this movie. A lot of conflicting feelings going into this from people, and a lot of us also assumed that this would be kind of like No Way Home, where you'd have a real cameo parade, and it would maybe be a lot more of just a tribute to what's come before, as opposed to really telling a story. And without giving away my feelings yet, I'll just say I had a different experience than I expected to coming into this, and I'm curious to see how you guys all land on it, and I wonder if we'll all be in agreement, or if we'll have kind of a spectrum of opinions here, and how our audience will land on it as well. It's doing, gangbusters at the box office. We knew it would do well. I think it's even beating most everybody's expectations. I think it beat the R record for a weekend again. I want to say it did that.
Yes, I think so.
Because I think the first Deadpool did that, and I'm not sure if the second one did, but I think this has also done that.
I think Joker beat those, but then this beat Joker.
Okay.
In terms of R-rated opening.
I wasn't looking that closely at that, but I saw that headline this morning, I think.
Yeah, I saw something.
This is the year of dead poker. We're gonna make that a thing.
He's just really good at poker?
Yeah, but he's also dead.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get a synopsis.
He's no longer good at pool.
We'll get a short, not too spoilery synopsis. Not that we need to say a ton about what happens in this until we get to spoilers, because everybody knows what Deadpool is. Everybody knows Deadpool is coming into the MCU now. However you feel about that whole thing, and everybody knows there's gonna be jokes about the state of MCU right now, and about Disney buying Fox and all of that. But let's get a setup from Austin, because he's very good at synopses.
Oh God, do I have to do a meta one?
Yeah, you have to do a meta. And you better get this right, because it's the only reason I invited you.
Oh God. Okay.
No, it doesn't have to be meta. Go ahead.
So my meta is I'm just gonna do this and play with my camera while I say it. Deadpool and Wolverine is a movie where Deadpool is okay. I can't do that. At the end of the last film, as we all know, Deadpool messed around with a time machine.
Oh, Connor says I did point the wrong way for you guys. Dang it. I guess it would be mirrored on yours. Oh, okay.
Told you.
Can we get another take at that?
No.
Can we start over? I already feel like a failure. I tell you what, I'm just gonna flip my sign and then I'm out. You guys can. We got plenty of people here. You guys don't need me. I feel like a fifth wheel.
As you should. So Deadpool and Wolverine follows the ending of Deadpool 2, where he gets the time machine, meddles with time, and then I guess goes into the MCU for a second to meet another friend that is not the titular friend, and he wants to join
still
the
that
Avengers.
title.
Yeah. And he wants to join the Avengers, but he is rejected, so now he wants to be a hero, and he's weak and lame, and he quits being Deadpool until the time police, they come to him and they're like, come join the MCU, it's cool. And he's like, okay, fine, but it comes with a sacrifice, in that every universe is anchored to one character. When they die, the universe disintegrates, and the one for Deadpool's universe was Logan, who of course died in Logan. So now Wolverine has to find a new Wolverine, and then the time cops are mad that he did that, so then they send him to the Void, and then more shenanigans ensue.
Wolverine needs to find a new Wolverine.
Did I say Wolverine needs to find a new Wolverine? Sorry,
Yeah.
Deadpool needs to find a new friend, is what I meant.
Yeah, I thought it was really curious when the next Deadpool movie doesn't have Deadpool in it, and it's just called Wolverine and Wolverine.
Wolverine and Wolverine.
But that was a
Wolverine
choice.
friend.
Wolverine and friend. Who is
Logan-
also Wolverine.
Logan and Wolverine.
That's an even better title. Just Wolverine and friend bracket who is also Wolverine.
X-Men Origins, Logan and the Wolverine.
Wow, that's pretty
There
good.
we go.
You got the whole trilogy in there. Well done. Okay, we're gonna go round robin and do sign flips as always. Don't get into major spoilers yet. We'll do a full-on spoiler cast right after this. I mean, it'll be in the same stream. It's just we'll do the how we felt about part. We do it all in one show now. And let's see, who do we want to start with? Well, first of all, before we do that, let me just say welcome everybody watching live right now. We've got quite a crowd. Interact with us as much as you can, and we will try to answer your questions and throw out your feelings as we see them. If you want to guarantee... What's up? What? You want to share with the rest of the class?
Yeah. Adam Marsh says that Wolverine went looking for the pride of the X-Men, Australian Wolverine.
Oh, that's great. Oh, yeah, I've never really had that thought before, that Hugh Jackman, who is Australian, does an American/Canadian accent.
That's true.
For Wolverine, but there's a goofy, kind of obscure cartoon pilot where he just has an Australian accent.
Wild.
Well, it makes you wish they would do like a voiceover for a cut, or just shoot one scene where he uses his regular accent, or maybe where you have like a variant. You know, that would have been too deep of a pull even for this movie. But like if you had a Pride of the X-Men variant, Hugh Jackman just comes in and has his normal voice.
Well, I'm surprised we've never done a scene where
That'd be
Deadpool just interacts with the Hugh Jackman in his world. Because we know Hugh Jackman exists in the Deadpool world, since they make a couple jokes about him in the first one. So I keep expecting them to do that.
We don't know anything about that world, Robert,
That's
because
true.
they're very, very inconsistent about all of that. We're gonna talk about that a little bit later. I never know if his references are about anything that's in the world he lives in, or just ours, and he knows them for no good reason. And even sometimes when he's talking about them directly to another person, I can't tell if that person is even hearing what he's saying, or if that's just for our benefit. You have no idea how any of the meta stuff works at all. Don't pretend like you understand it, Robert. Anyway, super chats if you want to guarantee that an aspect of the movie or your opinion is talked about on the show. We'll try to interact with you as much as we can, just with regular comments as well. And you can help direct the conversation if there's a major part of the movie that we don't talk about because you didn't remind us about it. It's your fault. Okay, who wants to start? Does anybody want to volunteer to do the initial sign flip? Best thing, worst thing? Oh, it looks like I gotta sign it.
I think
do
John
it.
volunteered. Yeah.
All right, let's get it from John. Go ahead, subject.
So I had like real low expectations going into this because I think Deadpool 1 is okay, and I really don't like 2. But this movie really
Oh my
surprised
God!
me.
Someone who agrees with me.
I just find 2 really annoying, and the plot is all over the place. Like, it is what it is. It's a Deadpool movie. So walking into this one, I had kind of low expectations. But Wolverine is my favorite X-Men. Hugh Jackman's been playing him since I was a kid. If this is, kind of a send-off, not, we'd had one, but like a second one, I guess. I wanted to see that. But I was surprised how much I ended up enjoying it. It's not perfect by any means, but I think it has some of the best use of the meta stuff as for telling the story that they're telling. And like it's connected, not just there because it's Deadpool. And it's also the most comic booky Deadpool movie, in my opinion. My best thing is probably some of the variants that we see at the beginning in that montage. Worst thing.
God,
is
spoilers,
there's a
John.
That's why I kept it vague. Worst thing is this movie's too long. I think the beginning and end can both be cut down a little bit to get to the action, the meat of the movie. I'm gonna flip the green on this one.
Oh,
Feeling it.
we still got to get you a sign.
I'll
John.
flip it for you.
I
Good
had
job.
one somewhere from when we did Smallville, but I don't know where it went.
You just got to transfer that. Oh, okay. Well, hopefully you can find that at some point.
Transfer via transfer.
You just got to
device.
Hopefully you can find it by the time we get back to Smallville.
Yeah.
What tells you how much John apparently loves Wolverine also is this is a momentous occasion for John because this is the first time he's been on actually the second time for How We Felt About Now because he did X-Men 97. So we only invite John for X-Men things.
X-Men and Superman.
But it's the first time he's done one with us for something he had to go to the movie theater, and this is a monumentous occasion because this is the first time John's been to a movie theater since 2011.
It's the first time he's been to a movie theater since Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
That
The movie is so bad it put me off ever going to the theater again.
was just a joke. John just never goes to the theater, so I was shocked when he actually went and saw this.
The last movie that I went to see was Evil Dead Rise, and that's just because it was Evil Dead.
Wow, all the way back in 2011. Okay, let's hear from Robert next.
Okay, so
Robert, do you remember how to do the show?
Oh, are we doing best thing, worst thing? What am I starting with?
Yeah, well, you can start with whatever you want to, but you have to make
You
sure
can
all
start
those.
with your most middle thing if you want.
You have to make sure all three of those things happen. It's been a while, Robert. I thought you might be rusty.
Well, I didn't know if you want to do sign flip first or best thing, worst thing, whatever. Okay. So sign flip, I'm going green. I liked this movie. I really liked the first Deadpool movie.
Cool, thanks, Robert. Okay, let's move on.
I like the first Deadpool a lot. I think the second one's okay, but not as good. This one I like more than Deadpool 2, but still not as much as the first one. It's a little messy, but there is a lot I enjoyed here. I loved Logan. That was a great send-off. I was very hesitant about Hugh Jackman coming back, and we'll get into spoilers later, but I did enjoy the way they poked fun at all of us being nervous about them ruining Logan. They have fun with how they address that. And, this isn't the same Logan. He is playing a Wolverine variant, and he's great in the movie. But besides Hugh Jackman's performance, I think my best thing is direction and action. This is a really colorful movie. The action is shot well. It's very entertaining, more so in the first half than the second half. We might get to more in depth with that later, but in the first half, there's a couple really good standout action scenes. just really like the way this movie looked. Like I said, it's more colorful than the other Deadpool movies and a lot of the recent MCU movies, with exceptions. Like Guardians 3 looks fantastic. This doesn't look as good as that, but I did like this movie. Worst thing, I kind of have two, but one's a minor one and one's kind of a bigger thing. I think this, you've already alluded to this, confirming that Logan takes place in the same universe as the Deadpool movies makes no sense. And I have that in the first 10 minutes, and then that sticks with me the rest of the movie, and I just gotta let it go.
I had the
it's
same
comedy,
thing.
and it doesn't make sense. It's just a joke. Just roll with it. But yeah, that was kind of my first big hang up was, and I think you could pretty easily fix it with a rewrite. But yeah, Deadpool, Wolverine being in this, and Logan, that movie being in the same world makes no sense. But whatever. And then the other thing is how it picks up from the second one with him traveling through time and bringing his girlfriend Vanessa back. I like those choices, and I really like where Wade is at the start of this movie with him and Vanessa broken up. But I think my actual worst thing with the movie is I just once again wish she had more screen time. There are nuggets of good ideas there and some themes here I really like, but between the beginning and the end, she's the character where once again I'm like, man, I wish we had more screen time with her, because that relationship is what really anchors that first movie for me, and a lot of why I like that first Deadpool. And with each sequel, it almost feels obligatory, like, okay, we have to have Vanessa here to address it, and then we just want to get away from her and tell other stories, which I guess makes sense. And again, I do like where we start with Wade in this one, but my actual worst thing with this movie is just I wish Vanessa got more screen time, and I like that they're broken up at the start. I just wish we got to flesh that side of the story out a little more. But yeah, other than some other nitpicks, I did enjoy the movie. I am flipping green on it.
Wow, you echoed a lot of the stuff I was feeling.
Interesting.
While I was there, yeah, you and I are real lined up on a lot of stuff. Some of the continuity stuff, I'm maybe a little bit more okay with as I'm thinking about it, and after a conversation I had with Austin yesterday, and we will reiterate that for you a little bit later.
Cap and I had a whole hour-long review just to ourselves.
We did. We should have just recorded it, and then I wouldn't have to be here right now. But whatever. No, I'm just kidding. Jayson, why don't you go ahead and give us yours, man?
Yeah, sure.
I almost muted our mic.
Sure, yeah. That would have been awesome. So
here, Jayson, you go mute.
Okay, so this was my first Deadpool movie in the theater.
Oh, by the way, can I just say real quick, I'm a horrible father.
Yeah.
Just that out there. We've got an elephant in the room. We've got a 14-year-old on the panel, and this is a highly inappropriate movie, and he's probably still a little bit too young to see this. But his mom and I decided to let him watch the other two a year or two ago, and so I did bring him to this one.
Yeah.
And when we left, you were like, "This is so much more inappropriate even than the other two."
Yeah, and I mean, it wasn't like, I don't even think I would have caught a lot of the jokes 2 years ago, but I'm just like, I don't know. Which is why I don't even know if it is more inappropriate than the other two, because I might have just not have caught some of the more inappropriate jokes. So I don't know. But this was my first Deadpool movie in the theater. I liked the first movie a lot, and I think the second movie was just kind of lame and didn't have great character work or anything, and it wasn't great. So I had very low expectations come into this one because of how they marketed it. They marketed it as as they have no other ideas, so just bring Hugh Jackman in, and they marketed it as we have no other ideas, so let's just make it, we're in the MCU now, that's it. And it's really? So I was really hoping to see some other ideas, and we did get some of that. So I am going to flip green. I did have fun with this. It was it was fun. My brain kind of broke with some of the multiverse stuff, which is why I think my best thing is the stuff with the Void, because we kind of take a break from that sort of the MCU stuff, and which I didn't really like. I didn't like the villain at the beginning, the kind of side villain. I don't like that guy, and so I was kind of glad to take a break from that for like, I don't know, 45 minutes.
And I don't feel like it's been a while since I've seen the first season of Loki, and I haven't watched season 2. I don't feel like I remember enough or get enough about the TVA to even full on get that guy's motivations on one viewing.
Yeah.
Like, I get that he wants to take the TVA over, but the whole like mercy killing, minor spoilers, but the whole like idea of mercy killing universes a couple thousand years before they're going to disintegrate, I didn't fully understand why he was doing that.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm basically going off of John's worst thing and like going on like the good side of that and turning it into my best thing, which is I really like the middle of this movie. I think it is a very fun. Everything that happens in the Void, I think, is very fun. There's a lot of cool action scenes that happen and a lot of really funny moments. And so that's my best thing, is just that whole sequence. And my worst thing is that I didn't really have this with the first 2 movies, really, but I felt like in this movie, everyone kind of just sounds like Deadpool. And everyone just kind of, like, don't really... Especially since a lot of these characters are characters from things that we've, seen before in the past. So they don't really feel like themselves. And they kind of, they're just all cracking Deadpool jokes, and I don't really like that. Like I said, I didn't really have this with the first 2 movies. This, like, Cable doesn't really have that in the second movie, and stuff like that. But
Colossus doesn't have that.
No, but here it's, like, everyone kind of acts like that. So, yeah.
Austin thinks Colossus does have that.
I think Colossus is much goofier in those movies than he is in the comics.
He's a cartoon character.
Yeah, but I'm not comparing him to like the other Colossus that we got in those movies or anything else. I'm just saying he's not like he's played for comedy, but he's not making Deadpool jokes. It's not Deadpool dialogue is the point Jayson's making.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I definitely had that too. I'm with you on that. Now I don't think as much as you did. Like, I think it's a problem sometimes.
Yeah, that was my worst thing. I have some other stuff that I didn't like, but that was like my big takeaway, was just like, why do all these characters, why are all these characters like acting like this? It's kind of weird.
I did have that with at least one of them, but that's a spoiler, so we'll get into that later. But I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
Anything else? Are you good?
No. I flipped green. This was an experience where I had fun and I wasn't really thinking about the actual like story or anything. Like, I forgot until like 2/3 into the movie, I should be thinking about a best thing, worst thing. And it was just like I was just having fun, Like, I forgot that I was even gonna review this movie. So that was good.
Yeah, it's nice when it doesn't feel like an assignment.
Yeah.
It
didn't.
It wasn't like a Black Adam or a Blue Beetle or something.
Who knew that movies could be fun?
Yeah, you remember when like entertaining an audience was like the first priority and not the 43rd priority? Austin!
No.
Oh god, both my best and worst things and the runners up have already been said. So now I got to think of other things.
You got to go for meta best thing, worst thing now.
Oh god, the proposal. So I guess I'm the odd man out then, because I'm the only one here who likes Deadpool 2 more than the first movie.
Yeah, that's actually shocking me, because I thought I was a lone wolf on that, just in the universe.
No, apparently not. I like the first Deadpool okay, but I think all of the flashbacks are really boring, and on rewatches are really hard to sit through, and it sucks because it's like 60% of that movie. And then Deadpool 2 I think has less filler, but it's also way sloppier of a story, so I like it more. And then I think I like this one slightly more than 2, but it's also very sloppy, and there's stuff that I can tell I'm going to rewatch and be like, this stuff's not great. So basically my best thing and worst thing is that it's a Deadpool movie. Like, it's very much in line with those first 2. there's little.
But Austin,
tweaks.
that was a surprise to me that it is an honest-to-God, full-on sequel to those, even though Wolverine's name is in the title, and even though it's MCU. Tonally, it tracks along just fine with those.
Mhm.
Like we
No,
have
exactly.
a real honest-to-God Deadpool trilogy. That's nice.
Like John said, it's a little bit more comic booky. I also think Deadpool's costume is a big improvement, which is something that I haven't really heard people talk about. Maybe
Oh,
because it's
I
so
didn't notice.
similar. It's like a switch from Batman to Batman Returns or like Spider-Man to Spider-Man 2, where like if you're really paying attention, they are different costumes,
I was
but
not.
they're close enough that you can easily watch it and not think about it.
The red's a lot brighter.
The big thing is it's a lot brighter.
Oh, see, I
The
thought that was
color.
just the color 10 of the movie. I thought that was just color correction in general.
No, even in set photos, you can tell that's a much brighter red.
Oh,
than
interesting.
The old suit. And I've always liked that suit, but I agree with Austin. It is improved here.
Well, it's also darker by the end because they actually like track that he's like soaked in blood, and his costume's like a much darker red by the end of the movie,
That's nice.
which is kind of neat that they keep track of that. But I'm gonna give my best thing, I guess, to the opening since nobody said it. I think I really liked the opening of the first movie, and then like it was never as funny again on rewatches, but like it's still pretty good. And then 2 just went, we don't have a good idea for an opening. Let's just do the first movies again, but worse. And then really liked how they did the opening credits in this one. I thought just that entire sequence was pretty creative. Worst thing,
And it's so technically
Did you-
impressive. It looks hard. It looks
Yeah.
really hard to pull off.
Did you notice the rubber guns on him that are just like flailing around? It's really funny.
Really?
No,
Yeah.
Guys, thank you for the
That's
super
awesome.
chats. We'll get to those after Austin finishes his sign flip.
For worst thing, I guess I'm gonna do like a more specific one of what John and Jayson kind of alluded or kind of talked about, which is that it's way too long. This movie, in a way, I think feels like obviously it's not much like this movie, but it's like Escape from New York if you had to wait 30 minutes for them to get into New York, and like everything in that entire sequence is convoluted and just like overly complicated for no reason. Like it's really easy while watching it to go, okay, but like you do this, this, and this, and the movie's simpler. Like, and this can be a little quicker, but they didn't do that. So I think that's probably my biggest issue because I think the first act is going to be the biggest thing that drags on rewatch. And so I'm flipping green. But I don't love this movie. Like it's very sloppy, but I had a good time.
Austin, do you feel like it doesn't really get going besides that opening until you get the impetus and motivation for Deadpool doing what he's doing, trying to save his universe, and Wolverine comes in? Like, do you need that first act plot point before you start really getting into it?
Yeah, I don't. I feel like the movie starts in a good place, and then it backtracks to before that to set up why we're there, and then everything I think is kind of slow until we get back to where the movie opened. We're like, there's a lot of exposition. I don't need all of the stuff with his supporting cast from the first 2 movies. Granted, I don't really like any of those characters, so like that's going to depend on how much you like the first 2 movies. So like I don't really need like his friend the cabbie to be there or Colossus to be there for 5 seconds or what's her face, Marina Baccarin, Vanessa, thank you. I thought the most clever thing they did with that character was they made her death and then they went back on it. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah. Now, I'm with Robert. I love her in the first movie. I still stand by what I've said forever since that came out in, 16, that's one of the best on-screen superhero movie romances. And I'm not with you, Austin. I'm more with Robert. I don't know if I needed a ton of screen time with her, but she does feel like just a plot point. Sorry, just a plot device, just something to motivate him. Like, I'm glad that she is part of that character arc, just because she's been his main motivator throughout that franchise, and it is one of the big things that helps it to feel like the third movie in this trilogy. A lot of the other why are those the 9 people he cares about? Some of them I don't even buy that, and there's a giant elephant in the room, and we all know why because of an actor that was kind of drubbed out of Hollywood. But like, wait, Weasel's not in that picture, and like he's in the second movie, and he's still there's no reason Cab Guy should be there and Weasel is not there. I don't even though you have moments where Weasel is super selfish and will kind of throw Deadpool under the bus. That's not going to stop Deadpool from caring about that guy any more than Cab Guy or Beard Guy he won't let get a word in edgewise. Why is Beard Guy in that picture? It's like these are the supporting
it is kind
characters.
of funny in that Deadpool way, though.
These are the supporting characters that we were able to get back for this movie.
Well, the funny thing with that is that you have the Back to the Future photo, but it has to feature like 15 people.
So, John, are you suggesting that even sometimes like the heartfelt stuff with Deadpool is all just part of a like complicated joke, where it's like, does he really care about the Beard Guy, or is it just funnier if he's also in that picture? Like,
I feel like the only ones of those that I buy are like the major characters from the movies because they've actually gone through things together. So like Colossus, what is her name? The teenage
Negasonic
X-Men.
Teenage
Negasonic Teenage Warhead, yeah.
And like Vanessa.
Teenage Mutant Ninja
I
Turtles.
feel like the cab driver and the only surviving member of X-Force are just like jokes. That they're there.
I can't stand this Dopender hate. His name is Dopender, and he loves him, and of course he's there. I don't see why this is a problem.
I think his name is pronounced Dopender, you racist. Not Dopender.
But I was also fine with Weasel not being there. Like he's the most forgettable character in this, at least in the first one.
But
he was Wade's best friend.
I was expecting.
No, I get what Robert's saying with Cab Guy. I'm just gonna keep saying that because I don't want Austin to call me racist. But so I mean that's true. But John could also be right about that, where where that's all part of the joke. Where like it's all just superficial how much he really cares about that guy. I don't know. And it's also like the flip of the joke he's constantly doing, which he does a lot in this movie, where he gets someone killed on purpose and pretends like he had nothing to do with it. Like, it's the opposite of that joke.
Well, and that one guy is just there for a gag at the end, too. The guy from 2, the X-Force guy.
The Peter guy. Well, he's the new best friend.
But with Weasel, don't you think it's weird? Like, I thought they'd make a joke about it. Like, he died in some accident. Like, I was expecting them to acknowledge it in some way, and kind of wish they did.
That's one of 2 or 3 things where I was like, how was there not a reference to it? I was really surprised not to get that, and I was really surprised there wasn't hardly anything about Origins.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. You've got Wolverine and Deadpool in a movie again. This is bookended, like Austin and I talked about on Friday when we did the commentary on Origins. Now, and there was nothing. There was like you saw the shot from the mid credits again with Weapon 11, but that was it. Why wasn't he one of the? I'm spoiling these. There's an army of Deadpools toward the end. Why wasn't he one of those?
I'm kind of glad they didn't do it again. Like they did it the last 2. Like
they already did it.
I'm ready for them to move on.
That and the Green Lantern thing. I'm glad there isn't a Green Lantern joke.
That's fair. But it is weird not to have any reference to it at all, with Wolverine actually being there. You know, like.
For me, Deadpool 2 already kind of put that joke to rest. Like we saw him kill that version of Deadpool. So.
If they hadn't done that in 2, I would agree.
Yeah.
But like, I'm ready to move on from like.
But
Origins
he could have
and
just
Green
been
jokes.
in that army, and we didn't have to really focus on him. It's just.
That's true.
It just would have.
But he's not a real Deadpool. I feel like that would kind of.
He is though, because it's still that character. It's still Wade Wilson.
Yeah.
And moreover, God, I can't make any of these points without going ahead and getting into spoilers. The Wasteland, which is this time purgatory that's established in Loki. it has a bunch of rejects from Fox X-Men movies. It just would have made sense that he was there. And I had the thought maybe the reason he's not is because they only use characters that survived, but it's not true because there's at least one that I know for sure dies. Maybe two.
At least 3 that I can think
Oh
of.
no, I just thought of a third one. Yeah. Most of the henchmen die, and there are henchmen there. So
That's true.
anyway,
Yeah, it's a couple.
I was going to go ahead and read super chats, but there are some spoilery things there, even though I've already started sort of doing that. I'm going to do my sign flip real fast, and then I'll read those. Most everybody started with sign flip, so I guess I'll do it too. I am also flipping green. I guess we're all in agreement that this was good enough to go. Did you go green, Austin? I think you did.
Yeah. I would say I'm more like...
Kind of a lukewarm.
I'm like a lower end green for like all 3 of these movies.
I like the Deadpool movies more than Austin does, and I came into this not really expecting to get the same kind of fun that I got out of those, and I thought it topped 2 by a wide margin. Because I'm like Robert, I don't care for it. I mean, there's stuff I like into, but I find, particularly the ending with that movie, really frustrating, and I just don't think the story is as tight as the first one. This movie does not have a very tight story. It is very sloppy and pretty all over the place, and it's built on an ultra faulty premise. And after a conversation I had with Austin, I can't decide if that's a problem anymore, but we'll talk about that. But as I'm watching it in the theater, that is distracting and irritating, and there's a lot of, how does Deadpool know that? And then why would he go there, and how could he go there? And then, oh well, I guess he's got the fourth wall thing, but that's never really never really impacted story and character choices before. So now it feels like he's almost got like a new superpower or something. So I don't know. I still don't know how to feel about all of that. But like I said, putting entertainment first, I was just thoroughly entertained. I just had a really fun time through a lot of this. And I agree with you guys on the length and pacing issues, certainly. But one of the most fun things was how creatively handled the cameos are. And I don't even want to say cameos with some of them so much as supporting characters for a while. Like some of the characters from old Fox movies are there a lot longer than I expected them to be, and so they almost surpass Cameo. Kind of like the Spider-Mans in No Way Home, where it's like, well, you can't really say Tobey Maguire's a cameo. He's there for a good half an hour.
We are kind of broken on that terminology, I
That's
feel
true.
like. 'Cause everybody goes to nostalgia cameos, but like, The Flash is one of the only places that actually does nostalgia cameos.
Yeah, no, that's true.
That's the worst one.
But I
Yeah,
did, but I didn't feel that
nostalgia
just
cameo doesn't really mean anything anymore.
yeah, no, it's more like just I don't know, gimmicky returning characters. I don't know. I'm not sure what the threshold is supposed to be for like how long you can be in a movie and be considered a cameo. But anyway, I digress. Best thing, worst thing are really simple for me. And like I want to say best thing actually is cameos, just because I'm so shocked by how much I enjoyed them and how like really creative and inventive some of them were. And I really liked the satire in full on just lambasting everything that's not working about Marvel right now. I want to say it felt ballsy, and like it's not really necessarily, because the sense I'm getting is that Ryan Reynolds was allowed to do and say nearly anything he wanted to because they knew this movie would make money, and so they just gave him rope and let him do whatever he wanted to. And I would
Except
love
for cocaine.
Except for cocaine. I would love to think that MCU is getting self-aware in the right kind of ways now, and sobering up a little bit, seeing what's not working, and poking fun at themselves in a kind of a self-deprecating way, instead of patting themselves on the back as hard as they did going back to Endgame, especially when they were on top of the world. And it's felt like it up until really recently that they either didn't get the memo about how many people are just not with them anymore and have kind of jumped ship, or just feeling lukewarm about the whole thing, or how much of it is denial. And if I could believe that there's an intentional attitude in this movie about kind of righting the ship a little bit and saying, okay, let's lick our wounds, let's laugh at ourselves, and then get smarter about it, and we understand what people aren't liking about this, I would be really impressed with that. I can't decide if that's what's happening. I guess we'll know moving forward, because with the introduction of the big Fox cameos, which we'll talk about, which we'll talk about in a little bit, I loved that because it's so obnoxious and bombastic and making fun of, like, the way No Way Home does it, and, like, waiting for, and also, like, the end of Endgame, waiting for the audience to applaud and all of that. It's not, and I think some people watch this movie and decide that it's all of the quote-unquote, like, cameo parade and nostalgia crap that they're already sick of and really don't want to see anymore, and might miss how much of it is satirical and making fun of how stupid all that stuff is. I really do think there's a distinction. I really do think it's doing all that stuff on purpose, and I loved it. It was like, look how dumb all of this is, and it is, and it's hilarious, and it works because of that.
Well, and it feels like all of them are specifically picked.
Yeah.
I guess this is a minor spoiler. I'm not going to say anybody that shows up yet, but 99% of the cameos are things that nobody liked.
That's true. And I also really respected it because it wasn't trying to out Days of Future Past. One of the things I was really worried about with this was, I'm like, well, why do we need a last hurrah for Fox X-Men? We kind of already had that. And then they unfortunately made some bad movies after that. But, like, we've already had the big last ride for Wolverine, and before that we already had the big fun nostalgia trip crossover movie with two X-Men teams from different eras. Why do we need to do that again?
And that's also a Wolverine-centered movie, basically.
Yeah. And this movie didn't do that. It's got X-Men characters, but we knew about almost all of them before we went in. The ones we got to be surprised by were where it becomes a kind of tribute / roast of the Fox X-Men movies, and the Fox everything else movies, just the Fox Marvel stuff. I don't know. That made me very happy. But real quick. My actual best thing, worst thing are, best thing is Ryan Reynolds and worst thing is Deadpool.
Interesting.
And what I mean by that is, Ryan Reynolds obviously has a lot to do with the story with these, and he was just, in some ways, really on top of his game, I felt like, both in some of the really clever and funny Deadpool one-liners, and also in just how energetic his performance is, because he seemed burnt out by 2 to me. They needed another year or 2 on that movie. He just looked really tired through that to me, and, like, I've never heard anybody else complain about that, but I always have that every time I watch that, where I'm like, he's trying his best, but these movies are tiring, and they take a long time to make, and he had kind of it felt like that Joss Whedon thing, even though he's not directing it, you know. But this is also the most obnoxious Deadpool has ever been. So there's a lot of specific lines I love, but, like, I'm sorry guys, I didn't need like 60 to 70% of his jokes to be to be like gay sex jokes. There's just so much of this, of just one thing, just over and over and over again. And it's not even really about what it is. It was the same thing over and over again. I was like, when are you gonna like joke about something else? He just kept doing that. And I found that really irritating.
I think one of the biggest differences is the Deadpool movies from Fox always felt obligatory. Like, he literally had to leak footage to get them to let him make one. So he probably had to spend half those movies fighting Fox.
And ironically, this might save the studio in some way.
Whereas this one, you can tell that, like, Feige and them was like, yeah, we trust you, just, you know, do whatever you want.
When those
he's
first
talked
apparently
about, like,
have troubled productions too, like even with Ryan Reynolds fighting with like Tim Miller and stuff.
Yeah. Like, they talked about they would submit scenes to, like, Feige, convinced he was going to say no, and he was like, no, go ahead.
And everybody involved in this talks about how like just harmonious it was, how much of a joy it was to put it together. And yeah, they're all on the selling circuit right now, and so like maybe you would expect them to say that, but you could just kind of tell. This
is the liveliest press tour for a Marvel movie I've seen in years.
Yeah, like you can just tell, particularly with Reynolds and Jackman, that they're very sincere, and you can see it in the movie, like how much. And I think it gets to almost too much of a self-indulgent level where it's infectious. And there are certain scenes that I wouldn't enjoy except for how much they're having fun doing it, but like it's stuff I don't necessarily care about or need, but like they're having so much fun, I guess I'm starting to. I definitely had some of that with it. So I don't know. Story-wise especially, it's a mixed bag, but I enjoyed a lot in it. And particularly the way it handles the old Fox stuff. And I didn't expect to be saying that. It was really, really cool. Anyway.
Well, and to your point, Cap, Ryan Reynolds, I mean, he's at like an 11 this entire movie.
Yeah.
You can really see his energy, like really rejuvenated on screen, just with the opening dance number, and just what he's able to physically do in that outfit is really impressive. He has so much energy. And as for the jokes, I think that just goes to what you guys were talking about pacing. I mean, like the other Deadpool movies, the jokes are hit and miss for me. Some land, some don't. So there wasn't anything off or excessive to me. I just thought, in terms of the runtime, which isn't even that long, it's like a 2 hour and a 15-minute movie, but it feels longer than it is. I just think you could have just cut some jokes down.
So for
this
kind of movie,
trim it up.
For this kind of movie, that used to be long. And I love that Deadpool has a line about that where he's like, audiences are accustomed to lengthy runtimes. Because you just proved it just now.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Ryan Reynolds probably isn't even in like most of that opening.
Yeah,
he's not.
I know he's not doing the dance.
He's not doing the dance. He's probably not doing most of the fighting. So he's probably not even in that opening.
I wasn't gonna fight you on that, Robert, but Austin's right about that. You lose. You get nothing.
I didn't have that with Deadpool as much, but I think that's because Hugh Jackman plays the really good straight man in the duo.
Yeah.
So
sure
I'm
does.
not as annoyed. Whereas like with the first two, like the second one, you get Cable. Yeah, a little bit, but like he's
they
not
don't join up till later. So
he doesn't join until the end, and even at the end, like he's not able to kind of balance out Deadpool's comedy as much as I'd like him to.
Yeah, they don't do the buddy cop thing with them very much because it's also sort of a team movie. I mean, I realize they kill a lot of X-Force, but even at the point where Cable's on screen with Deadpool more, there's still other people around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first movie really just has Colossus, and their Colossus is also goofy. So like this, I think is the only one that's had a proper straight man to kind of balance it out.
Yeah, and I've always found Deadpool annoying, so like I'm glad that I at least get a scene where Wolverine gets to tell him off.
Can we just talk about that scene? Because that's one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Okay, before we get into any specifics, and we'll go ahead and start doing spoilers now, but I've got to read these super chats.
Yeah, go for it.
And then we will totally do that stuff. You know what? I almost wanted to make my worst thing though. No Domino, and she almost came back too.
She's not even referenced.
No,
it's weird.
It makes me sad. I love, and I'm not the biggest fan of that second movie. I love her, and I wanted her to get a spinoff, and it hurts my feelings that she's not in this. She should have been one of the 9 people in the picture.
Or Cable, because Josh Brolin before the movie came out said, "Yeah, I'm not in it. And I wish I was," and I assumed he was lying. I was like, he's probably in the movie somewhere. So the fact that they both weren't here, like that was surprising and kind of weird.
Well, the difference is with Cable, you'd have to contrive some reason to bring him back because he goes back to the future. But Domino, no such issue. Does he not? I thought he did.
No,
I don't think he does.
He sacrifices the time travel device.
Oh, that's right.
Wait, so he's stuck here, and he's like, "I'll hang around for a bit," but I guess that was
didn't hang around long.
Yeah.
To be fair, I also wouldn't hang around long if Wade Wilson was around.
Okay, let me read these super chats. Okay, great. Put it in a $20 super chat. Thanks so much for the support. Really appreciate you, man. He says, disappointed with most of the, quote, returning Fox henchmen. Aside from Pyro/Sabretooth, they felt very Space Jam 2. Just extras wearing the costumes. If you don't bring the actors back, what is the point using those character designs? Austin, do you agree with that?
It did remind me of Space Jam 2. To be fair, I think it's like half and half. Like I think because you have Lady Deathstrike's the same actress.
Azazel is the same.
Azazel, I think, is the same actor. I'm not sure about the woman from X3. I couldn't really tell. And then Bullseye and Juggernaut aren't. And they asked Juggernaut, and he said no. So
Yeah,
But
that's why.
Juggernaut-
I wish he said yes.
Juggernaut works because they made a joke about it. I almost wish that his look was entirely different and they didn't try to base it on X3, because that's a joke that stuck with me when Deadpool said, like, this week's Juggernaut or, like, today's Juggernaut. I can't remember what it was, but it was really funny. So I was okay with him being some
'cause he was in
stand-in actor after he
Yeah,
said
because he was
that.
in Deadpool too. But a different Juggernaut was in Deadpool.
Right, yeah. And Robert,
I'm glad
as,
it wasn't the Deadpool 2 Juggernaut.
and as we know, Robert, jokes are always funnier when you explain them.
Got it.
Yeah, Deathstrike I didn't catch until, like, the tail end. I was like, oh yeah, I guess she's been here this whole time. I missed that.
I didn't have a problem with it because, like, most of them that you mentioned anyway were, other than Pyro, were just heavies in their respective movies anyway.
Well,
It's
the
not like
ones-
they had some deep character.
Some of the ones that really did come back were like truly surprising. You know, that they got
Although
way,
I
way
missed
far back from
Bullseye.
Toad. That was wonderful.
But is this the first time we hear Tyler Mane Sabretooth speak? I was killing me trying to remember
No,
the first.
he talks in
He had some
X-Men.
dialogue.
He has
Okay.
about as many lines as Darth Maul, but
Oh, okay. I think that's why I'm like, does he speak? Like, I remember he growls at one point, but I can't remember if he actually speaks English.
yeah, he
Yeah,
does.
he talks, and he also gets to say his Halloween 2 Michael Myers line. He gets to shout "die," and it made me very happy.
And
It's
also that scene where I was waiting for it and it happened and Wolverine and Sabretooth ran at each other. I'm like, yes!
Yes!
You would think
Jackman
that's where
doing
they would
the
reference
Sabretooth
origins.
run was awesome.
Okay, great. Has another $1.99 super chat and says, Doug, the Others legacy arc. I want Old Man Blade now. Yeah, let's get into the Blade of it all. Because
Spoiler alert.
I would have. You know, I said we're in spoilers now. I would have made that my best thing, but I didn't want to spoil it yet. But I don't care what
Yeah.
John says. It made me so happy. I thought it
So-
was great.
Yeah.
John wasn't
I
as
think
impressed
he's
with it as
okay.
me.
I think he's okay at times, and then there's other times where it feels like he's not playing that same character.
I
To
thought
me,
he
at
felt.
least.
I
I
thought he felt right
See,
back.
I
in it.
had that with Human Torch, but Dad didn't have that, so I don't
No, I thought he also fell right back in it.
know.
I thought Human Torch was fine.
The only one I thought didn't feel like they originally did was Gambit.
Well, we'll talk about that. So I thought that
Put up, Jing.
I thought that like all of the like main cameos that would be in there would all be from Fox X-Men,
Yeah, me too.
and X-23 was in the final trailer. So I was like, okay, well it's gonna be mainly X-Men characters, and then just randomly Elektra shows up, and I'm like, what?
And it's this obnoxious like slow motion thing. And they got they
Yeah.
got the heavy rock, and they're like, "Oh my god, can you even believe we're doing this?"
and I'm like, why is
yeah,
it-
take that, No Way Home. It's hilarious.
It's like that Doctor Strange 2 scene. Like, it's literally the same thing where they're like
Yeah.
introduced one by one, except we take way longer on it.
Yeah, and they're clearly not taking themselves too seriously.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. That's why.
Yeah, I
that
mean,
worked.
out of anyone that you could have told me that would be in this movie, if you told me Blade, I would not have believed you.
Yeah, because Elektra comes in and I'm like, wait, what is she doing in this? Because like everything else that I had heard about that was and seen already in the movie was, you know, X-Men.
Yeah.
So Elektra just randomly shows up, and then Blade
Well,
randomly
no,
shows
that's
up.
not true because we had
right?
Human Torch before that.
Yeah, we did.
But it didn't.
But I didn't.
It wasn't priming me for we're gonna see a bunch more
No.
characters that aren't X-Men. I did
Yeah,
not
that's true.
call any of that.
Yeah.
And that scene is a really good example of good comic timing and also the rule of threes. So you get Elektra, and you just can tell the way it's paced, they're going to introduce somebody else. And then, like, they step it up, and then Blade walks out. We're like, oh my, what the heck? And then it's like, well, how are they going to top that? And then a character that was played by an actor that was supposed to get his own movie but never did, with the most comic accurate but worst looking, most cosplay suit ever, and I was like, this is a stroke of brilliance.
I was like, okay, when is Gambit going to finally wear a suit? Because that would look awesome. And then that happened. And I'm like, no.
So Jayson is a giant Gambit fan.
Yes, you can tell.
He's got his Gambit shirt on. And so it's been a big year for you because we got X-Men 97.
Yeah.
And then
we got this.
And then this week, Austin and I did X-Men Origins for the Superhero Rewind commentary project, and I had Jayson watch it with me because he had never seen it. And Jayson didn't know hardly anything about that movie, so he got to be blindsided by Gambit in that movie. When they bring up Remy LeBeau,
yeah, the person who escaped, his name was Remy LeBeau. I'm like, oh no.
So Jayson got to get shocked by Gambit in a live-action movie twice in the same week.
Yeah.
And two very different ones. You have one that's like, "Hello, Logan, I am Gambit," and then you have one that's like, "Machete."
Whose dialogue coach was a minion.
Yeah, exactly.
That is one of the best.
The costume doesn't look amazing, but I think it's fine for this kind of movie, and I just applaud them for just doing it.
Well,
it's part of the joke. Like it's like, yeah, Gambit is one of the worst costumes of all time. Of course, they gave it to him.
Yeah, no, John, I really feel like that was an intentional joke where it's like, okay, you guys want everything to look exactly like comics? Fine, here it is. Have at it. And I can't decide if the whites in the Wolverine mask is the same way or if they think that looks really cool. I can't decide because I don't think it quite works. But like for this material where we're making fun of everything and where we're translating comic stuff to live action doesn't look great, I like that they did it, but I cannot decide if it's supposed to look badass or silly.
And I think it's supposed to look badass, but
yeah, I can't tell. My only thing with that is the eyes need to be more animated, I think.
They are a little bit.
Yeah, but I think it needed to be more like the Deadpool or Spider-Man eyes. Like I don't know if you can do that on a half mask.
I mean, they are. Like they do move like that
to some extent, but yeah.
I'm with John though. It doesn't look it enough. They look like cloth to me.
The problem is those eyes are so small in the first place.
I think the biggest issue, and it's something I've said with Batman for a long time, and this basically confirmed it for me, which is that the white eyes only works on a full mask because you have half of his performance, and then you have like CGI white eyes performance, and they do not match. Or maybe that's a little unfair. They just don't fit together. Again, I think it takes quite a bit away from his performance in the third act, but whatever.
Well, with the mask for me, I was worried going into it because we already saw the mask and all the marketing and we didn't see a single frame of it in the trailers. So I was terrified, like, oh no, is he only going to wear the mask for like 5 seconds in the movie and then like rip it off? But no, they saved it and used it a lot in the third act, which made me very happy. I really liked the Wolverine.
Oh, you're
mask.
one of those people.
Yes, I am one of those.
Okay,
people.
all right.
I will say
what those people.
Well, because I'm just making fun of Robert again. The internet when the trailers for this dropped were just rife with comments on trailers making a giant deal out of the mask and like it's about time and all of that. I'm like, there's a part of me that gets it where it's like you're like it's his iconic costume. You're nostalgic for that. You want to finally see it. They made a costume for the Wolverine, and then they didn't end up using it, and that was frustrating to people. But at the same time, Logan is one of the easiest characters to translate without a costume, and it make perfect sense that he's not wearing one. And like, I get that people kind of want to see it. I don't know why the mask is so important, and like for how long you see it. The man doesn't even have a secret identity. Like, I just don't get why it's that important, you know?
Well, I wasn't like super over the moon about the yellow suit like everyone else was, because yay, Wolverine's finally in the yellow, and like I think it's fine. I think it looks good in the movie. I'm glad they did it, but the brown suit was always my favorite Wolverine costume. But I was more like, okay, well, if you're gonna do the classic costume, then I want the mask, at least for a little bit. So I'm glad I got it for a whole sequence. And with the eyes, I think it only works in a Deadpool movie. And if they ever bring the classic Wolverine mask back, I think they should go the Batman route and let me see the actor's eyes. Like, I don't think that white eyes work in live action, but it's a Deadpool movie, so I could roll with it. And I just liked how big and comic booky it was. I was just happy to see it.
I will also say that I think I can't even look at you with a straight face. I think there were a
Should
little...
I have the white eyes? Would that make it?
I think...
Got
yeah.
the handles though.
They're there.
Yeah, I wish it
They're
would.
th- yeah.
It's a hoodie. It's just like
I do think there were a little too many jokes about the suit. Like, they kept going on and on about the suit in that car scene, and I'm like, yes, I get it. He has a suit. Stop.
Well, and to Hugh Jackman's credit, though, he is wearing that suit this entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and we haven't talked really story and thematic stuff at all, but I did really appreciate that the reason he wears it comes from a real character place and is a big part of his character arc. And that felt like solid classic, like kind of tragic hero's journey stuff, where it's like he wasn't a hero and he and he feels responsible for his team getting killed, and he wouldn't or the X-Men, he wouldn't join the team, and so he wears it in tribute to them and wishes that he is. That all works.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
No,
stuff.
I think it's great.
No, it is.
And Hugh
It
Jackman
also-
does really well.
It also feels like an intentional joke about how often we take off the mask in the third act, that he doesn't have the mask for the entire movie and then wears it through the entire third act, even when like his shirt gets ripped
Yes.
off.
And it
He's
felt like
so
he was.
bad.
It felt like the movie was like kind of making fun of all the fans that wanted it so bad. It's like even when he loses his shirt, he's got to keep the mask on. It's great. Do you think our audience is gonna get upset with me if I don't wear it long enough? Because like you have to have the mask on for a good long time.
When I also laughed
Just
really
don't take
hard,
your shirt off.
I also laughed really hard, and I was the only one in the theater that he wears it for the entire third act, and then when he finally does take it off right at the end after the big climax, there's no shot of him taking it off. He walks in with the mask on. It cuts to their reaction.
I thought it was a
cuts back, and he
mistake.
doesn't have it on.
For a second.
Yeah, I know. It was like, what?
So before we get, we'll get to these other super chats. Thank you guys. Before we move on from too far from Blade, we would be remiss to not mention the best line in the whole movie, or at least to me. So when Wesley Snipes says, "I'm the only Blade, and there's never gonna be another Blade," I fell out of my seat. I couldn't even handle it. I thought it was
That
so
one took me
funny.
so
Yeah. Cap and I need a tiebreaker, and there's enough of us to be a tiebreaker because we each have a different read on what that line is. Where Cap's whole thing is that they're making fun of how long it's taken to make their Blade. Well, I think that line was written back when they thought Blade would be out around, or like a little bit after this movie. And the joke is, haha, isn't Wesley Snipes silly? But it becomes unintentionally, oh, look how stupid we are because we can't get that Blade movie made. So, tiebreaker.
I think it had to. I think it had to have been unintentionally, with the movie being delayed.
I think it's intentional.
Yeah, I think
Because
it's
they started shooting this movie a year ago, and Blade was announced back in 2019.
It's taken
So,
forever
by the
even up to
time-
that point.
By the time they started filming this, or would have filmed Wesley Snipes' scene where he has that line, they were definitely already having issues with that movie. At least one director
And
had dropped out by that.
And it's not very long after that in the movie where Deadpool has his big, great dress-down speech of how this multiverse thing was a bad idea, and it's been disappointment after disappointment. I loved that. I had so much respect for that. I love that so much. And it's hilarious because we're hip deep in the middle of the multiverse saga. This is a Dimension is going to get destroyed multiverse movie, and we're gonna have 2 Avengers movies about it, but right in the middle of it we've got a movie that says this was all a really, really bad idea.
Yeah,
And
I think
love
my
that.
favorite joke is where someone goes, "Welcome to the MCU. You're in at around a low point."
It's such a good line.
Yes.
That's a good line.
All of that dressing down stuff made me very happy.
The joke about Hugh Jackman's divorce really took me by surprise.
Oh, I missed that.
They joke about, well, he's talking about Wolverine, but he mentions a divorce, and I was like, wow, they went there.
Yeah,
But-
I was surprised about that too.
But yeah, Austin, real quick, back to the Blade line.
Yes.
I honestly, just to not be facetious about it, cannot begin to tell which of us is right about it. But
No, it can go either way. That's part of why it's so funny.
We're,
But
we're still
re-
split.
But regardless of the intention, it works great in this movie with all the dressing down stuff, because like they're already talking about everything that's not working, and I am convinced that that had something to do with why Wesley Snipes agreed to do the movie. That either that line was his idea, or he saw it in the script and was like, yeah, okay, I'm in, because he doesn't like the idea that they're making a Blade movie. I think even if it was written for the reason Austin's saying, when Wesley Snipes is saying it, he's thinking about the fact that they're making a movie. He's like, I'm the only Blade. There's never gonna be another Blade. Like, even if he's in denial about it, I don't want there to be another Blade. He's thinking about the project he doesn't get to be in because he went on
publicly.
What's that?
Yeah. Said he said that publicly
because he went on record and said he wants to come back and play it, and they were recasting, and he was upset about that. And having said that, I wish they'd give him a movie now. I thought it was fantastic.
So cool. He looks so good. And that is the most, like, Mel Brooks line. And, like, you know, that sort of, like, comedy, you know, like... You know, like the some of the jokes in, like, Robin Hood Men in Tights and Spaceballs and stuff like that sort of thing. And I really like that.
Other Blades, my movies were made.
Also, let's talk about. I just want to talk about Blade the whole time. Let's talk about how we feel about the ice skating, the kind of obligatory throwback line, because some people I've talked to really don't like they did that because it's that standard obligatory. You have to go back to the big line everybody remembers thing, and I think that's still a big part of the satire.
Yeah, I mean it's obvious. Like, honestly, I don't know why they would bring him in and he not say that. It was just like, yeah, I mean...
It only works because they don't do it with anybody else. There's not one other returning character that has a classic line like that. Meanwhile, you go to Flash and he's like, can you pass the salt? And I'm like, why would you even remember you ever said that?
I mean, Johnny does say flame on.
Freaking stop.
Well,
yeah, but that's his catchphrase.
That's his catchphrase.
That'd be like, why did we... Who invited you?
Nancy's gonna complain that Wolverine says bub.
Yeah.
But that he says snicked.
It'd be like if Thing showed up and said it's clobber time, you're like, oh my god, the action figure said that in the first movie. You can't say that.
No, and what was funny to me, because walking out, I was like, I don't know how I feel. Like, is it like, oh, we brought that line back, or is it funny because that line is already funny because it makes no sense, and then it makes way less sense in this movie because he says some folk are still trying to ice skate uphill, which doesn't even make any sense in context. Like, whatever sense that made originally, there's none of it in this one.
It's so good though. Like, and if they had, I don't know what it would be, but like if they had Elektra say something she had said, and like it,
liar,
then it doesn't work.
The only thing she says is that she's fine with Daredevil being dead,
which is a joke I don't even understand, but thought it was really funny. Like,
I thought it was hilarious.
It's a reference to her and Ben Affleck splitting up in real life.
Or do we think that's what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it is surprising that there is no sandbags with her, though.
There should have
or
been.
Evanescence.
Oh, I wish there were sandbags in Evanescence, which is going to be the
We
name
brought
of,
Bye back. We could have brought Evanescence back.
which will be the name of my next album. Sandbags and Evanescence. Oh, wait a minute. Was it Bye because of the X2 scene?
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't even have that thought.
Wait, what?
There's a bit in X2 where where Wolverine steals Cyclops' car, and they're driving, and somebody turns on the radio, Pyro or somebody, and then Wolverine gets annoyed because it's that song.
Yeah.
I
remember that now. I was like, when does that in that?
And nobody loves or knows that movie as well as I do. And wow, you just take away my X-Men card.
It's the cinematic equivalent of being a kid and being like, I don't like this like girly song, it's gross. And then as an adult, you're like, oh, like I kind of miss like songs like that. We went from like In Sync to hell yeah, it's In Sync.
And the placement of it is so good.
Yeah, like I said, that's one of.
I just appreciated that it just from minute one it addresses people's biggest worry, which was how's this gonna make Logan look.
Does it desecrate Logan? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
Yeah, thank God.
He's like, how are we going to do this with any integrity? We're not. It's so good. And there was
And just killing people with Wolverine's skeleton because his skeleton is made out of the things that his claws are
And,
made
like,
of.
Wait, it
Yeah.
made you go.
Right.
It made you go. If there were any supervillains that knew where Wolverine was buried, they would have immediately gone and dug up his corpse. It's filled with adamantium. You could make so much stuff with that.
Well, but you got to remember that in the Fox universe, the only villains that exist are mutants, and they're all dead.
Yeah, but not in Deadpool's universe, even though it's the same universe somehow as Logan's universe.
Which
Do you two want to hash that out?
Yes.
Because you were talking about that earlier.
And then we'll get back to super chats. Yeah, we can do that real quick.
Uh,
So you guys all have to thank Austin, because if he and I had not had that conversation last night, you would hear me screaming about this for 5 minutes. And I will be a lot quieter about it now because I was angry, and now I'm like mildly irritated.
So last night, at one point I go, I don't know how I feel about that Blade line, and Cap goes, that's part of the satire, it's the joke. And I was like, yeah, like I guess you're right. Like I still don't really know where I land on it, but like I see where you're coming from. And then he goes, but I really don't like that Logan and Deadpool take place in the same universe. And I was like, yeah, that's the joke though. Like the X-Men movies have no continuity. Like 100, you have to do that. Like that's part of the joke.
The way
Like of course you come in and it's like, oh, Deadpool 2 and Logan are happening simultaneously, which makes no sense. But
yeah, they can't.
they never do.
Well, and I just had
Deadpool
this
2
thought,
that takes
Austin.
place in 2010, and it's got the 80s X-Men in it.
I can even stretch it farther, and this is probably beyond credulity, but so I don't know if it's intentional, but it kind of works if you think about it. They're making fun of all of these nostalgia bait superhero movies, right? Not just MCU stuff. And Flash does that with Keaton.
In what way, sorry?
Like Flash has Michael Keaton's Batman somehow in that universe. They don't remotely fit together. They're tonally not the same thing. Like it's not a stylized world, but somehow that Batmobile and that Batsuit are there. And is it like, are we making fun of that stuff too? If you're right,
I don't know if we're making fun of that, but I think we're definitely making fun of just how bad Fox was at keeping any continuity.
Yeah.
Well, I also just love that the entire Fox universe dies without a Wolverine.
Where you yeah, we need to talk about that because that's great. And I hadn't had that thought until you brought it up, John. But you're jumping ahead.
Sorry.
Where you won me, I'm just kidding. Where you won me over on it, Austin, was when you said, because they've been consistent about it with the Deadpool movies also, when they have that weird bit where Deadpool opens a door in 2 and it's the McAvoy team from Dark Phoenix. Like that doesn't make any sense either. They're from the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's the type of thing that only works because it's a Deadpool movie, which is a lot of the stuff. Like, a lot of the cameo
the rules
stuff.
are different.
Like, yeah, it was annoying to me that we did this with Spider-Man because we literally abandoned the trilogy we were building to go, look, fan service, isn't this great? This is just like a comedy movie that's silly and enjoy, the fun romp of these two characters going on an adventure. And there's a little bit more pathos than that, but like it's Deadpool. Like it's fine.
I mean, I still think it cheats with what little internal logic it has in places. So like it bothers me that the first 2 movies, like I said earlier, have Deadpool like breaking the fourth wall and talking to the audience about like the DCEU and other Marvel movies and stuff, but it doesn't ever affect the story of the universe. It's not a driving force. It doesn't move anything forward. I don't even know if anybody around him hears the things he's saying or if they're basically like thought balloons for us. In this movie, he goes to 616. He goes and talks to Happy Hogan. How does he know about the MCU? Oh, because he can fourth wall break. Okay, well now we've broken that rule. Now he can go there because of fourth wall knowledge. He's never done that before. Moreover, Okay.
Yeah.
Jason, I'll be
And
right back.
I mean,
moreover, a
you-
time travel device should not let you dimension hop, but they got that from Deadpool 2. So they built the whole thing on the thing that most irritated me about Deadpool 2, and I don't like that they're still doing that crap.
You are correct, but I also always thought the first two made the meta thing just window dressing, and I always wish they went further with it. So I'm more okay with that than you are, I think.
Yeah,
Well,
but it's awkward, right? Like I wish if they were going further with it, they went more all the way. I actually kind
Sure.
of expected She-Hulk to be referenced. I was a little surprised we didn't go there, because he doesn't actually go full on into the real world like she does, and I'm not sure why we don't just open the doors and let that happen.
No, and I'd be perfectly fine with that. But yeah, we didn't go that way. As long as it's handled better than it's handled in She-Hulk.
Yeah, because it's awful there.
Yes.
But I don't understand why she can do that and he can't.
Well, the
Ryan
movie
Reynolds
also.
didn't want to do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
He probably didn't watch that show, which is
Well,
fair.
yeah, and I guess it does get weirder because he does go to the real world in 2 because he kills Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. And
Before he takes the Green
they
Lantern
treat it like his
script.
time travel device lets him go to any dimension, including the real world. But then
Were
he
you
doesn't
guys-
do that here. And also, I'm not even sure if it's the time travel device that takes him there, because we have a mention that he destroyed it, but I guess he held on to it long enough to do that?
Well, and the first act also has some really weird like skipping around. It's like trying to do the nonlinear thing that Deadpool 1 did, but I was really confused at where certain scenes took place until it kind of evens out and you get to the TVA.
Were you guys surprised though how little MCU stuff was actually in this? Which for me was a positive, but other than going to see Happy Hogan, and this movie does firmly establish the Deadpool world is over here and the main MCU world is over here. Other than like the TVA and the wasteland outside of time from Loki, we're basically in Deadpool's world the whole movie, and still there at the end. I think we all thought that this was going to end with Deadpool himself being in the MCU or the worlds combining or something. So, how did you guys feel about that? Because that was actually positive for me. How much
I
this was
mean,
just a Deadpool movie.
everyone pitched this movie as Deadpool joins the MCU and he doesn't.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
I kind of figured there
back.
wouldn't be when we started to get more stuff and like there was more and more Fox stuff. And now I think it makes sense that we know the Secret Wars is coming. That's where you'll do that.
I was gonna say, like, he does and he doesn't, right? Like, he doesn't stay there at the end, but we've got that kind of flash forward thing, that image of the future where he's with Thor. And Austin and I argued about that last night too, and I promise you they will pay that off. There's no way they
like
don't.
100% pays off, and I'm like, that's a joke. There's no way.
They will 100%
I thought that was
bring
just
that back.
edited.
They could go either way.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought that was like an edited shot of like Dark World where
It is.
Loki's
It is.
dying.
It is.
It is,
Okay.
but it also feels, now maybe I'm reading too much into it, okay? But and I probably am. But it read in the theater to me. Look, I saw it the one time, and this is how I felt in the theater. It felt to me like they strategically went with Hemsworth because they can't get rid of him. He's the one original Avenger they know they'll always have if they want him. And it felt
Till
like
he's 90.
till he's 90. Yeah, that was a nice recurring gag. I like that.
Was it a gag or a threat?
I love the bit where Deadpool brings it back, and gets right up in Hugh Jackman's face and goes, "Till you're 90." So good.
Yeah, but the question is, Cap, is that a joke or a threat?
Both.
Well, see, I don't. Yeah, it's not a threat. They
It's
liked
in
working
his
with
contract.
each other too
It's
much.
just a meta joke to his contract.
Yeah, there is that another kind of elephant, which is, will this actually, honest to God, be Hugh Jackman's last time as Wolverine? And I'm going to say probably not.
No,
He's
the
probably
long-term contract that he's signed says he'll be making these movies to the end of time.
I think we will see them all in Secret Wars, because that's how you do all the different pocket universes if we're adapting the modern Secret Wars. And then when you resolve that issue, you combine all the universes, you reboot, and that's it.
You know, Austin, I really thought before I saw the movie that you were wrong, and that they would, and I think that a lot, by the way. But
But
Austin
I'm
is
always
often
proven
wrong.
right. So
but I thought that they would get all of this out of their system here, and that when they did more multiversal stuff with variants getting into Doomsday now, and then Secret Wars, it would be more like different versions of characters played by MCU actors, and not so much of like characters from previous franchises. And for whatever reason, having seen this now, I kind of think you're right. I kind of think they will do more of that, and they'll try to play him straighter. And so we've seen like the jokey version of it, and then they'll try to do like the real serious version of it. But they won't use anybody you saw here.
well, the Russos 100% will do the big team up shot where you get Steve Rogers, Iron Man, Hugh Jackman Wolverine, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, maybe Snipes Deadpool, Blade.
He's the
We know
one that,
Everyone is Deadpool now.
I could be wrong. He's the one they could bring back. I don't think Elektra comes back.
No, probably not.
Well,
Put Ben Affleck, Daredevil in that.
I was gonna say that. I think
in
they
this
will
spin
talk
around
to.
shot.
I think they will talk to Affleck. I think that'll happen.
Yeah, like I think for the most part this was more of their goodbye to the Fox era stuff, but anyone who's still at the end, like X-23, their Colossus, Deadpool, Wolverine, I think they will all be in Secret Wars most likely. And so I felt like this was mostly a goodbye to the other Fox stuff, except we did bring back Kelsey Grammer's Beast for the end of the Marvels. So
I
clearly
completely
he's
forgot
gonna be
they
back
did
for
that.
Secret Wars.
Yeah.
So anyone's fair game. I have no idea who else is going to come back for Secret Wars.
I
was
also
hoping...
don't know if it's guaranteed with, especially with the changes that they're making, that like any of that other stuff will count.
I'd be surprised if they didn't pay that one off, but we also know the MCU's history with that. But it's still a cliffhanger with Photon and Beast, so I think they're going to pay that off somewhere.
And we have a multiverse FF. Like, I don't think we're gonna go away from the
But you're-
multiverse. Secret Wars.
But honestly, I could make the argument that they've already paid it off. That the payoff for that is simply we're about to do more mutant stuff, and then now we're about to do a bunch more mutant stuff. You might never see them again. That might have just been a window into X-Men stuff.
Yeah, but it would be weird if Photon's just stuck there and we never bring her back.
Well,
That's not
everyone
right around.
everyone hated that movie, so besides me, so I don't think it will
also
be that
didn't hate
weird
that movie.
for anyone else.
I
Yeah.
mean, the Eternals also returned to their home planet and died along the way. So
It was the friends who died along the way. That's what really mattered.
yeah.
Well, and
exactly.
Shang-Chi's not
All the
coming
people
back,
that died
but the
along
rings
way.
might.
But I do think Secret Wars will be the grand finale to a lot of the pre-MCU stuff. Like that'll probably be the last place we see Tobey Maguire.
That'll be the end of most of that, unless one or two of those things get their own franchise again. Like, you know, if they decide to make a Spider-Man 4 or something.
Yeah,
because there's been talk
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, I'm not counting Spider-Man stuff because Sony, I'm not convinced will ever stop doing live action or animated multiverse stuff. So
You
Sony
can't
and
stop
Spider-Man.
Sony.
Can you tell your Shang-Chi joke again? Because I think everybody missed it and it was wonderful.
Well, yeah, I said that Shang-Chi will never come back, but his rings might.
Okay, we got to read the rest of these super chats because we got some more in, and it's been a while since a lot of these came in, and then we can get back to John's point about the wonderful meta context of Wolverine dying means you can't have Fox X-Men anymore.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Matthew Bass, $10 super chat. I guess I'm the odd man out. I thought the film was pretty annoying, and every time an obligatory cameo came up, I rolled my eyes. Felt creatively bankrupt to me, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Is that I figured there would be, and this isn't me saying like you're wrong, you're stupid, you weren't paying attention or whatever.
But you're wrong.
I'm just saying that worked for me, and it's not going to work for everybody. And even if you get what I'm saying and you agree that it's satire, you might still be like, yeah, but so what about that? I didn't find it funny. I don't want to like put a magnifying glass on that and make fun of it because I wish they weren't doing that. Anyway, I get that attitude. I don't share it, but I understand it.
And Deadpool's annoying all the time, so I also get that.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like, this movie is only going to work for certain people. It's not going to work for others. I don't know if I could agree with calling it creatively bankrupt, because even outside of the cameo stuff, I think there's some creative stuff in this movie. There's some creative action scenes. I think both main characters are handled very well. There's some really creative stuff they do with Wolverine and that towards the beginning. And are any of the cameos obligatory? Like we said, 90% of them are the stuff that nobody liked
and that nobody expected.
Nobody's going to go to this movie to see Elektra because nobody liked that movie.
No, a lot of the reason that scene was so funny too was they play it like this is what you came to see. You know, you were riding your car going, I can't wait to see Channing Tatum's Gambit.
But I'm also on an island that I don't mind the nostalgia stuff. It just, for me, depends on how it's handled.
I like that they're actual characters.
Yeah. Like with No Way Home, it's definitely annoying that it derails that trilogy, but like I liked seeing those two guys back. So
it was the thing I said about the Flash, where it's like, if you're gonna do Nick Cage Superman, can he at least be a character? Yeah.
Can he at least be Nick Cage?
Do you think? Do you think Secret Wars will do Nick Cage's Ghost Rider?
I hope so.
He's like the one that I'm okay with coming back. I would be okay if he was just Johnny Blaze in the MCU and we did Danny Ketch as like the main one, but he's like the mentor. I'd be fine with that.
He's kind of the one that's missing from this movie.
He's trying to get in from his dimension. He's pounding at the door.
Yeah, exactly. That should have been the after credit scene. Is they're like, oh, somebody else is trying to get into the MCU. I'm scraping at the door.
Oh, scraping at the door. That's what it is.
Robert, Blade also wasn't a Fox movie. That was New Line.
It was New Line, yeah.
Oh, okay. Thought it was.
No. That's true. I was lumping that in with all the Fox stuff and saying like all the Fox characters went up there. Okay, I guess that
but
is.
But then it has a connection with Reynolds, so that's his.
Yeah, it's okay. Because I thought, going to the creative bankrupt choice or a point, I thought it was very creative and fun to go. Here's this wasteland of all these movies nobody cares about anymore, and that got bought up by Disney, and they're not going to do anything with those versions, and so they all just got to live in this kind of hell or purgatory or something. And that was
I guess I would just have to know like. I guess I would just have to see like what somebody means when they say the movie is creatively bankrupt. Because I mean, in my opinion, I think this is the most creative of the three. Like I like that first Deadpool movie, but some of the jokes don't land if you've seen any other superhero movie.
Okay,
that is the big thing that I think this film drops. Is it's not as up its own ass about look how different we are.
Yes.
When it's not, that is another big thing where I'm like, oh, I kind of appreciate the flavor of this a little bit more than those first two.
John, there are people that have a hardline stance about multiverse and particularly going back to old movies and bringing characters back, and that's what they mean when they say creatively bankrupt. That no matter how those characters, I don't mean to put words in people's mouths, but I've got friends that feel this way. I've read a lot of people online that feel this way. I think this is what it is for some people, and so I'm not saying that necessarily the commenter we just got this is what he means when he says creatively bankrupt, but I imagine it might be. Creative bankruptcy with this is you couldn't think of any cool original ideas for stories, so you just go back to the well and throw in things that will make people applaud like seals and then forget about it 10 minutes later.
Well, and I think for me it's trickier because this is still a Deadpool movie. It's still like in that Fox, continuity. Take that for what you will. So it's not like we're bringing in other characters from like, Sony movies or something for a cheap pop. No, like this is just a Fox movie.
Well, and a lot of people, still haven't been won over by bringing Hugh Jackman back because he had a great send-off with Logan and don't like that he's gone back on his word on retiring. But the continuity of those movies are so messy. You can't never even be sure if he's always playing the same Wolverine in those. So I'm fine with him just playing a variant.
And since when did actors have to be politicians?
Right. Like, and
I think this was inevitable. Like at some point you were going to get these two in a movie together. Like Ryan has been begging for it since the first movie.
Yeah,
and Hugh Jackman has talked about like he saw that first Deadpool movie like a few days after he announced Logan was his final movie. Went, oh,
Yep.
Oh no.
Also, I read up on this, and if you don't like that Hugh Jackman got roped into this, blame him because a lot of it was his idea. Like
Yeah,
they
he
were.
begged to be in this movie.
So what happened was they were putting together a Deadpool 3, they weren't going to call it that, for MCU, and were really struggling with what the movie was going to be about and what story they were going to tell, and they couldn't crack the code with it. And then Hugh Jackman calls up Ryan Reynolds and is like, I really want to be in that movie. And Reynolds decides, if we have Wolverine, it fixes a lot of the holes where we just can't figure out what story to tell. And immediately he knew what story to tell. And Hugh Jackman apparently like drove around in his car for a while trying to decide if he really wanted to do it, and he finally decided to do it, and that's why it happened. So like, it's kind of his idea.
I also think Hugh Jackman is as good in this movie as he is because it's been several years since Logan. You know, he's had time to think about it, to bring some things maybe he didn't before, and he's also not burnt out. Because when he makes Logan, he was coming off of doing like 2 movies back to back, so like he was done. Here, I think the break helped a lot.
Yeah,
I
like I said, I think this was inevitable. At some point, you were going to get this, whether it was Fox or Disney.
I said when Deadpool 2 came out, like I walked out of the theater and I was like, clearly the third one is Wolverine in it. Like that movie literally ends with Deadpool being like, hey Wolverine, you're gonna team up with me next movie. And like we keep building that joke like throughout the movie. So I'm like, that's clearly what they're gonna try for the third movie. So I didn't even have the like, oh well, Marvel Studios got involved, so now it's got to be that. Like,
no, in fact, I'm glad you mentioned that because I forgot about this. To Kevin Feige's credit, he told Hugh Jackman not to do it.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I read that too.
He said, you got such a good send-off in Logan, it's a bad idea, we shouldn't do it. And he still let those 2 guys make this movie.
And it's amazing, at least for me, I don't know how you guys feel, is like, I still feel like Logan is an amazing send-off to that version of the character.
Which might honestly
Whereas
be a one-off version in the first place.
Right. While this one is just, we get a Wolverine adventure. Because my biggest issue with the Fox Wolverine movies is not so much with Logan, but you get that back-to-back where it's like, well, what if we just took away Wolverine's healing factor? Whereas this movie, we finally just get to see like Wolverine doing Wolverine stuff, and like you don't have to worry about taking away his healing factor. We have somebody that can go toe-to-toe with him. He actually gets to like do cool stunts and stuff. And
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah. I had major reservations about him coming back, and I didn't like that idea in the first place. The movie, I don't know, sort of won me over on it and sort of didn't. Like on first viewing, I didn't feel like it fully, like really justified it. I've liked it more the more I thought about it. As I'm sitting in the theater, I'm like, I don't know if Wolverine really like has to be here, and do we really need like another version for another universe? And the more I've thought about it, the more I've really appreciated the dual character arc that's happening with them. And you've got the guy trying to save his universe, and the guy that messed up his universe, and they're coming together. So you need Deadpool to motivate this version of Wolverine because he is doing what Wolverine wishes he could have done. And so like I don't know, that relationship ends up working really well by the end of the day. I got one over on it after the theater. I needed about 24 hours with it.
The only issue with Wolverine is that he picked the wrong Wolverine, and it should have been the little Wolverine.
Comic book accurate Wolverine made me laugh really hard.
That montage was great.
That montage was one of the big things that my theater didn't react to. I had like a big like people are cheering for stuff theater, and they had like no reaction to any of that.
They clearly knew nothing about comics.
People laughed at Little Wolverine, but I think only because it was Hugh Jackman but little.
Yeah, they probably didn't get the joke that he's supposed to be small.
Yeah, and the Henry Cavill one made me laugh more because he's like, oh, you know, we're going to treat you better than those guys down the street. Dead silence. I'm like, yeah, see, no one cares.
What did you think of that joke, Jayson?
Okay, I have a question.
Jason's still here.
I have a question.
Hi, Jayson.
And then I do want to talk about something with Wolverine, because I think I'm an odd man out with Wolverine. So...
Did you wish it was just called Deadpool and?
No. No.
No.
But, is the Henry Cavill Wolverine, does he still have a beard?
He's
Yeah,
got
he has
mutton
sideburns.
chops.
He's got mutton
He's
chops.
got mutton
Yeah.
chops.
I thought it was really funny. I was not expecting it. Like, it was the last thing I was expecting, but it was also really funny because he kept appearing randomly in the DCU films, and it was just like, yeah.
I liked it as the one big jab at those.
Yeah.
Because they didn't spend the whole movie being like that stupid DCEU. It was the one place they made fun of that.
Yeah. Well, and you said there was a Black Adam joke, but I didn't get
Oh, there was. Oh no,
I
no,
didn't
there
catch
was.
that.
There was. There's a place where he says changing the hierarchy of the Marvel universe.
Yes.
There's a place where he said
That was
that.
great.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah,
Oh.
that was
Oh.
wonderful. Because I looked over at
I'm
Jayson
also glad that
and I was like, Jayson, did you get that joke? He's like, no. I said Black Adam. He goes, oh.
Yeah.
No, for me the best ones were Little Wolverine because of course, like 80s punk rock, Armageddon Wolverine.
Yeah, Days of Future Past.
Days
The
of
comic
Apocalypse.
Days of Future Past.
That's. I was trying to think of what that was and I wasn't sure, but he's basically just Snake Plissken Wolverine. That's what I called him
Yeah.
walking out. And Old Man Logan.
Well, and you got real Days of Future Past Wolverine and real Old Man Logan Wolverine, and I was surprised by how much I get. I guess it was a big deal to me to finally get to see him do that. I don't know why. I love Old Man Logan, and so him being on that
Same,
porch, and shooting Deadpool from the porch.
My favorite one.
I really like Patches.
Yeah.
And then my favorite is probably the brown suit.
Mine too. The
But
one
it
fighting
was,
Hulk.
it was all alright. And then freaking
The
Austin was
brown
playing
suit
like.
looks better than the yellow suit.
I think it
I
does,
agree.
too.
And
I
you also
don't
get a shout-
agree.
You also get a shout out to John Byrne, and that made me very happy.
Yeah, I
that
was kind of
great.
surprised. There's some weird stuff with John Byrne and Marvel. I was a little surprised that he got a reference, but I was like, that's cool.
Did you
Also-
guys see Liefeld's shoe store?
Oh yeah, that was in the trailer.
I was a little disappointed that because you have Liefeld shoe store and then there's like a generic store next to it, and I was like, oh, it would have been cool if it was like Claremont or like someone connected to creating Wolverine,
Yeah.
just so you could have them side by side.
There was though. I don't know if you guys saw this. Like in the middle of the credits, there was a special credit to Len Wayne
Yes.
that said the producers
Oh,
would like
true.
to thank Len Wayne for his significant contributions to X-Men. That made me happy. That was
Yeah.
cool, and that was before like all the other special thanks that they usually do.
That's awesome. Yeah, I missed that.
It got a bracket all by itself. They made a big
That's
deal
really
out
cool.
of it. If you're paying attention, the five of us that were actually looking at that.
Well, I had to go to the bathroom so bad that
You were
I
out of
missed
there.
like the entire credits and after credit scene. But I saw the credit scene after. Like I just looked it up.
I had to miss the post-credit scene, but the like little montage right after to like the whole Fox universe really got me.
I like
because I was like 8 when that first X-Men movie came out, so I really grew up with these.
Yeah, apparently I missed the whole thing, but I felt really good because I had to go really bad.
Guys, that is a tribute. First of all, I just didn't even expect him to do anything like that, and I like that it was still enough in the tone of the movie too, because they were they showed you behind the scenes stuff from good movies and really bad movies, and you could tell that it was like this whole thing never like fully panned out. Like some of these obviously people loved it, like it was a mixed bag, but I can't fully explain why. That was the one thing with this movie. I had tears down my face. I had
Got me.
really got me.
And it had that,
Yeah.
and it had a section from behind the scenes of X-Men Origins when Ryan Reynolds was talking about playing Deadpool for the
Yes.
first time, and like that was cool.
No, the selections were really good. Like it was so thoughtful. I don't know. Like this is a coda to the Fox stuff. I didn't know I needed that in my life, but it makes the whole thing feel a lot less obligatory, a lot less like, oh, we just got to make a Deadpool movie because he's so popular. Like it feels like in the full like canon of superhero movies now, it's like it really adds something.
They even show Fantastic.
Yep,
That surprised me.
Wow,
they did.
that's crazy.
Austin, did you
Yeah,
miss
they
it? You
did.
didn't see that?
No, like I said, I had to go to the bathroom
He's peeing.
so bad.
You didn't get to
But,
see
like-
the
Yeah,
montage?
no, he didn't.
No, like I said at the beginning, like when you played the song, I didn't realize. I was like, what does this have to do with anything? And then I remembered hearing like the first 2 notes of that song as I quickly ran out the theater. No, I missed that entire thing.
It was one of the.
Unfortunately, I
It
do
was one of
have
my
to leave,
favorite
though.
things about the movie.
Oh no.
Oh, I forgot.
Is
John can't stay.
Yeah, no, I also forgot, and I just looked at the time, so I do have to leave. But I just want to leave with saying this is my favorite Deadpool movie, and I can't wait to watch it again.
John, I'm
John
sorry. I
sacrificing
hope you got
himself
to.
like Jesus.
I hope you got to say enough of what you wanted to say, man. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
I was
Enjoy the
surprised
rest
you
of-
enjoyed it as much as you did.
I was too. I like I said, I went in with very low expectations. And yeah, but Cap, with the one Wolverine, the future one,
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's Apocalypse Wolverine, not Days
It's not
of
Days
Future
of Future
Past.
Past.
Yeah,
No.
because isn't Days of Future Past the one that wears like a leather jacket?
Oh.
I think.
Yeah, and he's
You're-
got the gray in his hair.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I was
He's in the-
conflating though.
And he had the big wild hair, which was awesome.
Yeah, no, you gotta
he's
take
Snake
my.
Plissken,
You gotta take my
Wolverine.
X-Men card again.
But yeah, have fun, guys.
If another X-Men thing
Yeah.
show
Thanks, John. We'll,
comes
Bye.
out, we'll invite John again.
we'll see you, John. Okay, well he's never coming back, right?
Yeah.
Thank God.
Hey, you guys feel free to move on to any other topic. I mean, it should be about this movie probably.
Okay,
but
well,
I'm
I'm
gonna.
gonna
I gotta
say-
run off for just a minute. So
Okay.
would you
Okay.
guys hold the
Yeah.
fort?
Yeah. Sure.
And then we'll get back to these super chats, everybody. I'll be right back.
Jayson, did you
Okay.
want to? Was there something else you wanted to say about
Yeah.
Wolverine, or did you want to save that
I'm
for
gonna
when you're done?
say I'm gonna say I did not like this Wolverine.
Wow.
I thought he was annoying for the first half of the movie, and I didn't. I liked how the action scenes with Deadpool and Wolverine like happened. Like I like the sort of like how it was directed and stuff, but I don't like that they just keep fighting each other over and over again. I don't that kind of just killed time for no reason. And like I did like that car scene a lot, but that Wolverine just plays off as very annoying, and I didn't really get like what his motive, like what his sort of like what he's sad about until like the third act, and it's like, you know, I didn't really have much sympathy for him. So
It's fair.
I don't know.
No, I really like Jackman in this. I can see where you're coming from, and I've heard a few people say that it gets a little tiring where you have Deadpool be really annoying, and then Jackman just goes like, "Shut up," like, and that we go to that well too often.
Yeah, that got really annoying for my
Okay.
taste, but
No, and that's fair. My thing with the car fight is that it feels like your standard. Your two comedic leads are gonna leave for like 20 minutes, and it's just there to waste time. But we did it in like 3 minutes, and I was
Mhm.
like, thank God we didn't need to drag that out further. That and the action scene itself was really fun.
Yeah, it was just such
It
a
is.
creative environment, just creative space to put them in. It's very claustrophobic, but you can still see what's going on, and it's well choreographed and creative. But the lead up to the fight, when Jackman just unloads on him and tears him apart, like it's great, and it's their planes, trains, and automobiles moment where you get the big obligatory fight out of the way relatively early, and then they're still together for the rest of the movie, because that's what it reminded me of when Steve Martin just completely
Yeah.
tears into John Candy, but then that's over and they're still together the rest of the movie.
And I also-
thought
Except,
like that.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
and
Jason.
I do like the direction of that fight, because yes, they are in that car for most of it, but there are times when they like someone just like gets thrown out a windshield and then has to like come back in because we're still in that car fight.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think I will like that a lot more in a second viewing. Because
Yeah.
once we got into the fight, I was like, this is really impressively choreographed. My whole thing was, at first, I was like, we already had a giant fight with these guys.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I was telling them,
But it was a lot more character motivating than I expected it to be, Austin. So I think on a second viewing, I'll like it a lot more. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't really like this version of Wolverine, and I know the whole point is, yeah, it's the worst Wolverine, but like it's Hugh Jackman. Let him. Obviously, he can't play Wolverine because that Wolverine is dead, but I thought this Wolverine was just kind of annoying and just was a little too mad all the time, and I don't think the relationship with this Wolverine and Deadpool worked for the first like half of the movie.
So I felt that way a little bit in the theater, and then, like I said, as I've thought about it, I'm warming up more and more to it. Hugh Jackman gets to play a very different character. And so it's just nice to get to see him do a different kind of performance. And when he was making various Wolverine movies, he always said there were aspects of it he felt like he never got to tap into. And with Logan, he acted like, you know, finally they made the movie he always wanted to make. But then I got the sense with this that there was still kind of a layer to that character that he hadn't really got to play. But this is the most, like, jaded and conflicted and broody we've ever seen Wolverine in the movies. It's like they got to that Frank Miller place that we never got in the movies. And the more I've thought about that, the more I'm kind of glad we got to see that.
Well, in walking out, my feeling was that, and I know it's heresy, but that this was maybe my favorite Jackman performance. And I think the biggest thing is that it's the first time I've been surprised by Jackman, where it's like, oh, I'm seeing shades of him that I've never seen before. And it's something that, say, like, you know, Downey Iron Man, like, I feel like Downey Iron Man is consistent all the way through, and, like, you know exactly what you're going to get. And I have that with Jackman. Like, even when we get to Logan, it's just, he can swear now, but, like, I feel like I'm still seeing the same thing. I feel like I'm getting a different performance from what I've seen, or like maybe different, more range, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And that really impressed me. And I just thought the part where he breaks down in the car and freaks out at Deadpool is one of the best scenes he's ever done in any of these movies. It's really, really good.
It's also just on point, like, thematically with Deadpool. And their Deadpool has never been the Joe Kelly Deadpool that I want, but just with, like bare bones foundational what that character is supposed to be anyway. At the beginning, Deadpool is a psychopath that wants to be a hero but doesn't have any empathy and doesn't understand what heroism is. This guy is not exactly that. There's shades of it. But we have a Wolverine who had a chance to be a hero and didn't take it. Teaming up with a guy who wants to be a hero but ostensibly doesn't understand what that means. Those go together really well. I mean, that's a really good idea.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly.
And to John's point, that I also really like, you know, as much as I love Logan, and I also like the Wolverine, the second one. It is nice that he doesn't lose his healing factor at all in this movie. We also never get the bone claws. It's Wolverine with the adamantium, with the yellow suit, and he's in his physical prime the entire movie.
We did have to do the slow claw thing so we can have an erectile dysfunction joke.
Yeah.
Yes. Wolverine can finally fight in a movie.
Yep.
It's no longer just him running around going and then getting his ass kicked by everyone.
Or just running and leaping at people, and that's about all he's got.
Yeah, I mean, he does do some good leaping.
Yeah. But he does other things also.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
No, I think I'm going to have...
He gets to crawl like Sabretooth, like that stupid thing that we talked about in Origins, but it looks way better.
That surprised me.
Oh, yeah, they did do that.
He ran on all fours. He became the animal.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Are we winning you over at all on this performance?
I would have to actually watch the movie again, honestly. But
I get where you're coming from, Jayson, because
I want to see Deadpool and that Wolverine. Like, you know, I want to see what that relationship is like. But we got annoying, sad Wolverine, and not like, you know, and also like, yeah. I don't know. It felt like just the same thing over and over again, where it's just Deadpool makes a joke and then Wolverine has to yell at him for the first half of the movie, and it's just like...
Yeah, that is the experience I had, but I'm just liking it on paper a lot more as I'm thinking about it.
No, and I agree. I hate Deadpool, so like I'd be like, shut up, and then Wolverine would, and I was like, yes, you tell him, you.
I didn't.
But I understand where you're coming from. Like it is a little too repetitive in that way.
Well, that's what I was talking about with the jokes. Where again, one of my gripes with this movie is like you could just cut down some of the jokes just in editing. Like you could just trim this movie up a bit.
I wonder if they'll do an alternate cut for this. It being an MCU movie, we haven't.
Ooh, good
We
question.
haven't really done that much, but we did it with 2. We've got 3 cuts of 2.
We have 3
And it
cuts
should
of
be
two?
called
Yes.
the Dead. God, I did the Daredevil thing though too, Cap.
It's my
It
fault.
should be called the Deadpool and Friend cut.
Yes,
Yeah.
that would be great. No, you've got you got the super duper cut or whatever they called that.
Yeah, and then you have Once Upon a Deadpool.
Once Upon a
but I
Deadpool.
didn't know that there was a super duper cut.
Yes.
What is that? Is it like
it's got deleted
2 minutes?
No, it's
No.
more than that. They have a lot of like alternate gags, most of which are not as funny as the first version. But then also they add back in a lot of the stuff that they cut, particularly at the Essex house.
Okay.
No,
There's
I
more
feel like
stuff
it's
with
like
the
at least
villain.
half an hour added to that movie, but I could be
Wow.
wrong.
Yeah, it's as much of a different cut as maybe not as much as something like the Daredevil director's cut, but like it's a significantly different cut.
It's
Man,
more
I'm
than like
never gonna watch-
Spider-Man 2 or Ghost Rider.
I'm never gonna watch the Daredevil theatrical cut again.
No, you can't.
That's how I first watched it, and then I saw the director's cut, and I'm like, it makes sense.
Okay, we're
Yes.
almost at 2 hours. I've got to get through these super chats, and then the one big thing I can think of that we haven't really touched on at all is Cassandra Nova, and we've got to
That is true.
at least give her a couple of minutes. Zarathustra, and I cannot read the rest of this because it
Knob.
just has a knob. There you go. We're supposed to celebrate their first super on a live stream, so I guess you get a YouTube told me to do that. So you get a gong.
Yes.
And he says, did the flick get you guys reinvested in the MCU? And thoughts on this movie being the first Marvel flick to feature the R word. I don't know if I should say it, but
I'm gonna say no, but also one of the hardest things I laughed at was we haven't heard Blade speak in 20 years, and the first thing he says is he drops that.
it's so good. That was really funny. And again, probably reading too much into it, there was a part of me that wondered if that was like a subtle callback to "Did you just call me Blob?"
Maybe.
Did you just call me?
Like it is that it's the same joke.
That is true.
I also think the Blob's supposed to be one of those guys in the background at Cassandra's place, but played by a different actor, which makes me sad because I wish it was Kevin Durant. That would have been a fun one to have.
Oh, I missed him. I didn't see a big fat guy in the.
Yeah, I
background.
didn't see Blob.
I
there.
think I saw one who I guess is supposed to be Blob. I just read that.
Don't assume his Blob though. Maybe it's Blob from X-Men Apocalypse.
That's
Blob's
true.
in Apocalypse?
Oh, it could have been that. Yeah.
He was. I forgot.
He's there for 3 seconds and he's dead.
So, but let's answer that first part. Did any of us did it get us reinvested in the MCU? I don't know. That is tricky for me because all of a sudden, like, I don't know if I can like trust that anything that I appreciate about this translates beyond it. I mean, it is a third Deadpool movie. It's technically MCU, and in some ways it is an MCU movie. I mean, it's kind of nice the balancing act it's doing with that. But at the same time, it's very much its own thing.
It depends on what they do next. Like,
I guess it was just nice right now to have as much fun with one of these again, which I have not in a long time.
yeah.
And so, in that way, I guess I'm okay. Yes, in that Feige has confirmed for sure that we're recasting Wolverine, and with their doing the big mutant era thing that he's saying after this, I'm maybe trusting a little bit more that they might handle some of that right, because we're getting the Fox stuff out of our system now. So in that way, I guess I'm intrigued more than reinvested, if that makes any sense. But like, I don't know. I don't want Deadpool to be an Avenger though.
And he'll definitely be in one of those movies, whether it's Doomsday or Secret Wars. Like, there's no way he's not going to be there.
And he'll definitely have a heartfelt scene with Thor. I bet you $100.
Heard it here, folks.
And
Be recorded.
he'll be like, I'm in the Avengers movies now. I lost my ability to swear.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he'll probably do that.
Or
Or
if he
they'll
swears
just
and they
bleep it
bleep
every.
it, that could be funny.
They'll bleep it every
Yeah,
time.
they'll bleep it.
Or he'll walk around with his own bleeping device where every time he says it, he bleeps it.
Well, to the person's question, the next two movies coming out are Captain America: Brave New World and Thunderbolts. So, who knows how those turn out? We'll see. The only movie I'm like excited for is Fantastic Four, and I still have a degree of optimism for that. So,
Steps.
I have more than a degree now. I'm
I've heard that
trying not
trailer's
to
great.
get my hopes up.
The
because
trailer
it
is
looks wonderful. We'll talk about that on the Captain Logan show this week.
So yeah, I'm excited for that. And then the big one for me is Daredevil. If Daredevil, it turns out great, that's when we'll really know, oh, there was a genuine creative reset and they got this right. And clearly put a lot of effort into trying to get it right. We'll see if they succeed. But
Yeah,
that's kind of the big make or break one for me.
Okay, and that's fair, but for me, Brave New World even before that, because that had the same thing where it was like
Sure.
almost reshot from the ground up. So like, if that movie's great, now I've got a little bit more hope for Daredevil even.
So I have two things I'm cautiously optimistic for in the MCU, and one thing I'm very incredibly excited for. The two cautiously optimistic are FF, and there's a part of me that wants to be cautiously optimistic for Blade. It'll never happen, but Mahershala Ali and Mia Goth being the two leads, I think is great, and I want a good Blade movie again. And then the only thing I'm like hardcore, like 100% excited for is the press tour of Cap 4. So that's where I'm at.
I'm going to establish a new rule on the channel, Robert, which is you're no longer allowed to refer to Thunderbolts as anything but asterisk.
Yeah, does it still have an asterisk?
It not only still has an asterisk,
It's the poster.
they released a poster
Uh-huh.
I haven't seen the
that's
poster yet.
well, we're going to spoil the poster for you. They released a
Okay.
poster that's just an asterisk in bullets.
And it's
That's
entirely
awesome.
black,
It's
except for that.
stupid.
And
Why is it an
apparently, at SDCC, Kevin Feige said that his son keeps asking him why the Thunderbolts logo is just Walmart.
Austin sends me that poster and he goes, "They're about to get sued by Walmart."
It's just the Walmart logo, but with bullets.
I hope that goes to court so some judge can be like, "Well, you can't copyright a punctuation mark."
Oh man, I can't wait to find out.
I'm gonna
The
copyright the
like
comma.
But it's like I said to Cap, the main risk we're taking right now in the MCU is an asterisk. Which is a joke that worked better spelled out as opposed to being said out loud. But
A for effort.
Yeah, it was really funny in text.
yeah, it's not as funny because the words don't sound similar. So, anyway.
You might have to explain that joke.
No. Let's move on.
All right, let's read some more super chats. James Egan, $7.99, Australian. Thank you. I think Australian. Vanessa dying in the last movie, then them breaking up at the start of this movie is sloppy to me.
I disagree.
I don't. I had the same thing. Now, Robert, when you say you like the status quo at the beginning of this, like where he is, I don't disagree with you, but that seemed, I'm conflicted. Because
Can I just
it's
share
just
my
the
side?
standard. We always do that. We can't keep a couple together. They've got to. Well, anyway. Yeah. What do you think works about it?
Well, I like that it deals, because one of your main criticisms, or Eric's criticisms when you reviewed Deadpool 2, was you guys were split on that choice in fridging Vanessa in the opening, and then we get closure, it's resolved, and then they undo it in the credits as a joke, where he uses time travel to bring her back. And I remember you guys had an argument about that.
I hate it.
And I liked that this one keeps that going forward and deals with the consequences of it. So I like that he's able to bring her back, but she still knows what happened and is upset about it and is like, no, you need to quit the Deadpool thing, like, or else this isn't going to work.
Yeah,
which is
maybe
why
I'll-
it's going to try to be an Avenger.
Maybe I'll appreciate it better on
So-
the second viewing, because I don't think I even appreciated what her motivation was for breaking up with him. I think that was my issue.
She has a mention about getting shot.
Yeah,
Well,
I forgot about that. Because that's why I said I don't disagree with you that I like the place, that I'm okay with the place they're in, but I didn't get why they were there. That was my thing. It just seemed kind of easy and obligatory. I missed something with that, clearly.
all right, so that was my opinion on it. And I just wish they spent more time fleshing that out and that she got more screen time. And that we paid it more off at the end. Because, like, we kind of pay it off, but she's only in the end for, like, 2 seconds, and it's ambiguous where that's going to go. But
They kind of tease it like maybe they'll get back together, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Now we're in like a CW TV place with this.
mhm.
They should have just dominoed her.
Don't start using that as a verb.
No, that's the new vocabulary.
love
All the
her.
kids are saying it. These
Where's
days.
my eject button? Carl Maxey, $5 super chat. Most of the amazing comedy comes from what we know, what these actors went through in real life. When Nice Pool says the proposal, my theater lost it. A lot of that went over my head. Until I read
Yeah, I
things
didn't see
about stuff later, and then I was like, oh, okay, he directed
Oh, we
that.
didn't.
Okay.
We didn't talk about the multiple Deadpool things.
Oh yeah, we haven't gotten to that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest cheer my theater had wasn't even any of the jokes, or I mean, I guess technically it is a joke, but or the cameo things. My biggest one was the Wolverine is the only good thing that's ever come out of Canada, and then Deadpool kills him and does the Oscars line. My theater, like, people, it was like a standing ovation in my theater when that happened, and I was like, you stupid Canadians.
Okay, but it was really funny.
No, it was, but I just thought it was funny that, like, people were like that, like, yeah, because it was like being in a concert and the musician's like, I love being in insert town here, and everyone goes, yeah.
Dude, there better be some YouTube videos of, like, real authentic Canadian reactions to Deadpool and Wolverine. I want to watch those.
Yeah, my theater freaked out.
Austin's gonna show you one from his phone right now.
Yeah, because it wasn't just like everybody cheered. It was like when they said that, there was like a like in the a collective like throughout the theater, and then he
They
did
know
that.
about us.
Yeah. they're like,
They know our country sucks.
what did he just say about our land?
That's funny.
I don't actually mean Canada sucks. I've never been there, but that was the sentiment.
And I was like, oh, Ryan Reynolds, always gotta be patriotic. At least it's not as annoying in 2, where you got Celine Dion and Deadpool in the Once Upon a Time in Deadpool or whatever cut,
Yeah.
where he like rambles on about how good Nickelback is.
What?
I
Yeah,
still
there's
haven't seen that
a
cut.
whole thing where Fred Savage is like, Nickelback sucks, and Deadpool's like, oh, let me tell you about how much records they've sold, okay? Shut
Austin,
up,
we
Ryan
should.
Reynolds.
That's a really good impression. Austin, we should do a commentary on that for Christmas this year before we even do the commentary for Deadpool 2.
Sure, yeah, why not?
We should just do that. Jayson, talk about. We can go ahead and get into that before we do
Yeah.
the other super chats. Talk about what you thought about the Deadpool leak.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that was a thing in the comics because I didn't, like, I don't know much about Deadpool.
And some
right?
deep pulls. Like, I think every one of them is comic book.
Which is maybe another reason why they didn't put, X-Men Deadpool in there.
That's what I said.
Because they
no.
just did comic book ones?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. And because he would be the only one that doesn't have that mask.
Yeah. I honestly...
Well, besides Nice Pool, I guess, but yeah.
Honestly, I didn't like it. I thought it was kind of a waste of time. I thought it was like, why do we have to do this? Where it's like, and I didn't like how we led with where like we started with Nice Pool because I hated that. Like that was just really annoying to me. And
Did you enjoy seeing him get shot 1 billion times?
yes.
How did he survive as many of those bullets as he did, though?
It was like Austin Powers.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then, like, I don't know. I don't like scenes like that where you go through, like, 3 minutes of action and then it just gets, oh, they're not dead. Oh boy, I guess we have to go get Peter, and then you just leave. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
that's
an anticlimactic joke,
there
and I just didn't find that particular anticlimactic joke very funny because the Peter thing never did anything for me. So yeah.
I will say though, it was, I just read up on this, but his wife is Lady Pool.
Yes.
And 2 of his kids are Kid Pool and Baby Pool.
And Matthew McConaughey is Cowboy Deadpool.
Oh,
Oh, I didn't know that.
And Nathan Fillion is Headpool.
Yeah.
He's floating it.
Oh, of course he is.
Oh, okay.
Because
No,
so now he's got to be like the guy who has disembodied body parts because like he played the like arm fall off kid and then now he's doing okay.
He's head fall off guy.
Head fall off guy.
Yeah. That sequence is very much filler. A lot of the jokes with the Deadpools don't really work for me, but I also think that action scene's really good, where we do basically a homage to Old Boy.
Yep.
Though I do think that has one of the best jokes with Hugh Jackman. I really liked the bit when he's standing over the dead body of Nice Pool, and he's like, "Oh, you know, he sacrificed himself or whatever. He died for this," and Hugh Jackman's like, "He died from murder."
Yeah, that was almost worth Nice Pool, but still not quite.
Yeah, it's filler, but it's a fun action scene, so I was
That's
fine
the
with
big
it.
thing for me.
I was also glad, though, that it wasn't a Deus Ex Machina, like, oh, we're doing the in-game scene, but instead of the Avengers, it's a bunch of Deadpools to save the day. No, they just have to fight and try to kill all of them, and I thought that was funny.
Was
and then the rest
was
of
that
yeah.
maybe the joke where
That was
like
fine.
that was supposed to be the climax, but it's not really the climax? Like it's actually going to be the double attempted self-sacrifice at the end where they call back to Wrath of Khan, and it made me very, very, very happy.
I was going to ask about that.
I
think
honestly
probably.
Just didn't really like. I like the idea of, you know, doing that and having that be a big action scene. Like, it's a very Deadpool thing to do.
In its way, it's like X-Force again.
But I don't think it really worked, like, fit in with the rest of the movie. It was kind of very sudden. In my opinion, I was just like, okay, this is just a random break for no reason. Like, if
But again, Deadpool 2 did exactly the same thing with X-Force coming out of the plane, and then they all die one by one. Like it
And
is
at least
kind of
it's
that
shorter
again.
than that.
Yeah,
I'm-
and it's in a different place in the movie.
Yeah, I'm also much more on board with it as long as we never bring any of them back. Because this is the big multiverse movie, so it makes sense to do all the multiverse Deadpools here. They didn't do Gwenpool. That kind of surprised me, because that's kind of a recent one.
Would they even
No,
have the rights to do
Gwenpool,
That's true.
But also
true.
it
They
wouldn't
would need
matter
Sony
because
for that.
Gwenpool is not a Deadpool.
Just saying. But,
She's a completely
So-
different thing. Her name having pool in it is not related to Deadpool, except it sells books, and I've always hated it. But
I never read it.
the only connection, yeah. So I used to read Gwenpool, and the only and I like some of that stuff. The only connection that she has to Deadpool is that she has the fourth wall breaking thing, and it's because she comes from the real world and gets sucked into a comic book, so she knows all the Marvel stuff because she read about it. And her last name is Pool with an E. Her name is literally Gwen Pool. It's her last name.
Yeah, 'cause she's neither a Gwen Stacy nor a Deadpool.
Nor a
right?
Deadpool, right?
okay. I also don't know anything about most of the Deadpool variants here, so, like, that, I don't know. But if they never bring him back, then I'm more cool with it. Because, like I said, this is their big multiverse movie, so it makes sense to do them here. So
And it's kind of
as
fun
long
to
as
get them
that's
all out of the way
it's
because
fine.
that stuff got
Yeah.
real memey and is way too popular in the comics and just gets kind of obnoxious and gimmicky. And like people seemed really surprised that they had all of those, and I was like, before the third movie was even announced, I was like, when we do a third movie, we're gonna have all the Deadpools, right? Like I was just kind of waiting for that, and also I was done with Dogpool the second they did that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just got really sick of the constant joke of, like, look, it's an ugly dog, and Deadpool thinks it's adorable, and it's a long tongue that keeps licking him, and I'm like, okay.
You know what you know
Stop
what would have
it.
salvaged all of this? Is if this entire multiple Deadpool sequence ended with some sort of joke about the multiple Kangs and how we're just sweeping
Yeah.
that away.
Yes!
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been great, but it was probably too
They
late
couldn't
before they've
have it,
made that
yeah.
decision entirely. Yeah. It's also kind of
Make
a
a new cut and add that in.
it's also kind of a fun intentional irony that Deadpool is the only surviving character of the X-Men franchise that ends up winding up in MCU, and we're not going to reinvent. We're probably never going to reinvent him. He'll just be Ryan Reynolds and from that universe. But then, all of the Deadpools from other universes wound up in the wasteland. And I kind of just liked the idea that that is the character that causes the most trouble for time travel and for the multiverse, and like has all the messed up variants. I thought that was kind of a fun idea.
Yeah, and I was going to mention too, Avatar Desto just said in the chat, I agree with this, that I like the idea that Deadpools are just a dime a dozen and basically the trash of the multiverse.
Yeah.
And nobody likes them.
But you have the one that's very important. I mean, maybe we're doing
Well, he's Deadpool Prime.
yeah, we're doing well, but also he's the one that's made billions of dollars. So it's the exact same kind of meta joke as if you kill Wolverine, the Fox universe dies. It's like the one Deadpool that matters is the one we've been watching because he makes a lot of money at the box office. There's a joke in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think. Like maybe that's on purpose. Let's go through the rest of these super chats. One reply, 27 SEK. I don't remember what that means. Repetitive gay and cancel jokes became exhausting. A couple of the like cancel / air quote woke jokes I thought were really funny.
Well, we only did two.
There's
It's
there's
not
at
like we
least one
did too
fun.
many with that.
The ones I noticed I liked.
Yeah.
He needs it gone because it's his first.
Oh, he also gets a okay, which is weird because one reply comments all the time, but maybe not in super chat form.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
since it's his first, we should give him a awkward PG trailer cut. Let's go.
Let's
Let's
go.
Let's freaking go. No, like I said earlier about the humor, like I think you just tighten that up and just cut some out in editing. The gay jokes didn't bother me. I mean, Deadpool is a pansexual character, so like all of his jokes like felt in character to me. So like I don't know, none of that bothered me. I just think you could have cut some of them down a bit.
That's not a thing I ever even remember. And when I said there was too much of that, I'm not saying because of my own sensibilities or anything. It was just going back to the same well over and over. It could have been anything. I just got kind of sick of the same thing over and over again. It was a one-note joke. It was just over and over again.
Like sex.
That's
it's
what I'm complaining about.
repetitive.
Now, I know people are going to call me homophobic at the end, but...
Is it homophobic though to say you think there's too many gay jokes?
At this point, I can't even tell.
If anything, you're gonna.
We're just making assumptions about people based on things they say that we don't like. I don't know, man. Let's not
Shut
give
off the
anyone.
stream.
Let's not give anyone the benefit of the doubt. Let's just jump to conclusions and know you're wrong, and I'm not going to listen to you. That's the
If
society.
anything, you're
we
gonna be
live
made a hero of gay culture. You're a gay icon, Cap.
in. Wow, that's the first time anyone's ever called me that.
And not the last.
Goofster123 $4.99 super chat. The Cavallini is real. My best thing was the various Logans. Yeah, I think these guys were also really into the.
That was fun. I like that they were all
was funny.
comic stuff.
Were
Well,
you guys surprised?
It felt like part of that Hugh Jackman, and I don't know if any of that was his idea, but it felt like part of that Hugh Jackman always wanting to play sides of Wolverine and never got to. And Logan was supposed to be a send-off, and now he comes back, and they don't miss the opportunity to do literally everything I could think of that was never done with that character. And yeah, there might be other things, but I'm just saying the viewing I had, it felt like Nothing is on the table now. He's finally done it all. Like, if he's gonna come back and do like a coda, we didn't waste it. At least in a fan service way. And again, some people are not gonna care about the fan service thing, or they're gonna feel like that's all this movie was and nothing else. And I don't agree with that. I think the fan service and I've always said there's good fan service and there's bad fan service.
The only things we're missing are him in Mandrapore and him standing on top of the ninjas like that with the blue suit.
Oh, you're right. We haven't had that.
I gotta say, I completely forgot there was a Deadpool back here.
Did he scare you?
Yeah.
That's one of the variants that's hidden far in the back. That's Cardboard Pool.
Cardboard Pool. Yeah.
He's the only one that survived.
Exactly. Yeah, because he couldn't walk to the fight.
It turns out there were 101 Deadpools, like Dalmatians.
And then in the next one, there'll be 102.
It's a Disney property. Okay, I'm sorry, Robert. What were you gonna say?
No, were you guys surprised there weren't more like celebrity cameos as Wolverine in that montage, and that Henry Cavill was our only one? Because I don't know if you know about this, Cap, but like a big actor who's been fan cast by a lot of people for Wolverine for like years now for the MCU is Daniel Radcliffe. Like, that's a really popular choice.
I had heard that, yeah.
A lot of people thought he was going to be Patch.
I was surprised not to see him. It made me a little sad because I love Daniel Radcliffe. I don't know why that's such a popular fan casting, but I love him, so I would have liked to see him. I feel like
it undercuts...
I'm glad
they didn't do it at all, because I feel like it undercuts the Cavill thing too much, because the whole point of that joke isn't Cavill should play Wolverine. It's he got shafted by the DCEU, and if you immediately jump to another actor as Wolverine, you kind of reset that joke, and it becomes about something else. So I don't think the comedy would have played.
That's true. Also, although I mean, I have seen Henry Cavill fan cast as Wolverine too, like ever since the DC Superman thing was falling apart. He is a name I've seen pop up that people wanted as Wolverine. So that was a cameo that didn't surprise me. I'd also kind of heard rumors about it for a while. So that's one of the cameos that I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
They should have just had him in the void as Weird Al. Or he could have been Weird Al Wolverine.
That would be fantastic.
That'd be awesome.
And he's got like accordions that come out of his hand.
One reply had another super chat and says the sequels had a poor handling of Vanessa. Again, I agree with that. Robert and I like that character originally.
The best thing they did with her was kill her.
I don't understand that, but okay.
No, I just think that's like one of the few clever things that those movies do is they go, oh, Wolverine's got, or Wolverine, I keep doing that tonight. Deadpool's got the thing with death, and then we made her death, and I thought that was really clever, and I really liked what they did with that. So where he can only be with her when he dies.
So can I stop you for a second?
Undercut that. Yeah, go for it.
This notion of her as death is just not a thing I've ever thought of.
Mm-hmm.
I've always just seen it as them fridging her.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong about it. I'm just saying like I don't have the attachment to that idea you have because I've never read it like that.
Well, I don't have
like
an attachment
death.
to like
okay
with death. I was just like, oh, that's because that's what his relationship is with death.
You just don't like words I use.
No.
All I meant when I said that was you think that's clever. I never even thought of that.
Mm-hmm. No, because it's like that's what their relationship is he can't be with her because he can't die.
Yeah.
And
that's
he can like
true.
die like for a little bit, and then he like goes to her, but then he always comes back because he's Deadpool. And I was like, oh, that's actually really clever. And they never come out and they're like, this is what we're doing, and then they completely got rid of it. And I was like, oh, that was like one of the only clever ideas you guys have had. That's
I do feel really vindicated. Because when Deadpool 2 came out 6 years ago now, which is nuts.
It's crazy.
I complained when we reviewed that about the time travel device that lets you dimension hop for some reason, and that they undercut that, they screw up that whole character arc and make it too easy and give it kind of a Disney ending when, ironically now, when he is able to just go back in time and rescue her. It was like I felt like I kind of it was a waste of time the whole movie by the end, and tons of people in the comments of that were like, well, Cap, you're reading too much into it. It doesn't count. It's just silly mid-credit stuff. Yeah, I was right the whole time, y'all. Because this movie just builds on all of that. Like, all of it happened. The dimension hopping even happened, not just bringing Vanessa back. I couldn't even believe they did the same plot point. They used the time travel device to take him to 616. It's the same thing he does when he goes to Ryan Reynolds making Green Lantern and all of that. And I'm like, yeah, it's if you didn't think it was canon before, you can't argue with it now. So I'm vindicated. But I'm not happy about it.
You're the vindicator.
You're the song from Spider-Man 2.
Vindicated. Tom, $5 super chat. Doom use World Ripper to remake the MCU. Tony Stark anchor person for main MCU. You guys rock. Tom, I'm going to ask you to use complete sentences next time, if you wouldn't mind.
Can I attempt to decipher?
Yeah. Would you?
No.
I think now I don't know how they're gonna tie this in or make this make sense with Robert Downey Jr. playing Doom, but I think what he's saying, even though this contradicts some previous stuff in the MCU, particularly Loki, is that this movie makes a big deal about Wolverine dying, causing that universe to end, because that's their anchor point. And then they're maybe gonna say Tony Stark was that, and he died in Endgame, so now that universe. So I think he's saying that's where it's going, even though that would contradict some stuff they set up, but because that's supposed to be a fixed point. But like, I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah, and also
I don't know what they're doing.
They don't know how their multiverse works exactly, so if they decide to retcon things, I would not be surprised by that.
Yep.
I kind of hope the anchor point thing doesn't become like the big major crux of the conflict for Secret Wars, because again, I've seen the movie one time, but just on the face value of it, it's kind of a dumb idea.
Yeah.
Like, everybody dies. So, like, oh, if this character died... No, you mean when, right? I mean, basically what you're saying is the universe always had a clock, and it's tied to when a person dies. Like, how much longer was... I mean, I know Wolverine lives longer than other people, but they said there's a ripple effect where... What was it Paradox says? The universe has like another 2,000 years or something?
1,000 years,
I'm like, okay, so a man that probably wouldn't live longer than 200 years dies. Can you even say prematurely? Like, was there something, like unusual that happened that made it happen earlier than it was supposed to? Or was that how it was always going to happen? Like, I don't understand the anchor point thing. It seems like kind of nonsense to me.
I mean, it's basically just a meta joke. If you take that as lore, it doesn't work.
But it's important. I'm glad he brought that up. It's important to talk about this because there are a lot of people that are taking it as lore and want it to come back. Or like, oh, here's this really interesting new piece of mythology. I'm like, no, it's not. It's cool as satire.
Yeah,
like, I don't mind it in this movie. I guess
the funniest thing is also your anchor for your universe is born like billions of years after your universe starts.
Yeah.
Or does your universe literally start like when they're born and it just has a background that because it like split off from something? I don't know.
By that logic,
I got
and I don't think you've seen this, but by that logic, if you go back to Turtles Forever with the Prime Turtle universe, that means that the world didn't exist until there were Ninja Turtles.
Which
one is the anchor point?
All of them.
If all of Marvel counts, this actually makes sense. There's actually maybe foreshadowing in this when we had in the beginning there was Howard the Duck. Who would be the anchor point of his universe? You think they'll do that in Secret Wars? This would have been the place to do that.
He should have been in this.
This would have been the place to get that Howard the Duck.
Well, yeah.
Checker is $5 super chat. Probably nothing, but did you notice when Cassandra is reading Wolverine's mind, there are flashes of X-Men continuity before it cuts to the graveyard? Yes. I did see that, and the way I read that is either just they don't want to go back and reshoot those scenes.
100%.
And also he looks younger there, so why do it with an older actor? But also you have kind of, it's Marvel, you have like what if continuities.
Well,
so
and
so it's like a lot of his history that we saw probably happens exactly the same way until you get a diverging point. That's how I
she
read
did
that.
that with Deadpool too, though, where because she did that with Deadpool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Deadpool that it goes back to the first two films with Deadpool as
But the
well.
point,
so.
but the point he's making is that we were seeing images from a different Wolverine that
That
couldn't
is
have been this. That's what
true.
he's talking
That is
about.
true.
Did we see footage from Logan also? Because if we did, then that makes no sense. But I don't remember.
No.
I
No,
thought
I
it
don't
was
think
so.
all. Yeah, it was just the typical like Weapon X Striker stuff from X2
Okay.
and things
I
like
think
that.
it was mostly just like the first three
Three.
movies, if not just two.
Yeah,
Okay. Because
Yeah.
I think it was just for archival footage.
that,
Purposes.
yeah,
100%.
that's all it was.
Dad, I might need to go to bed.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I knew this
Like,
would be.
I don't think I will be able to ride this out.
No, that's all right. Because we've got a few more super chats we got to hit. Anything else you wanted to make sure to mention before you head off?
No, real quick, I will say I did really like Cassandra Nova, and
Oh.
I didn't. I wish she had gotten more to do, but just before you guys ended up talking about that, but
Mm-hmm.
because that was the big
Yeah,
thing.
good
But
segue.
I did like her.
That actress.
I
is
think
brilliant.
she
She's
did a
so
really good job. Yeah.
Yeah, she's great.
I'm disappointed that she's not in a movie with Professor Ags, and that I'm not imagining we'll ever see her again. But it's multiverse, anything's possible. I don't know if there are multiple Cassandra Novas. They kind of play her like the only one, but I'm not sure why.
They could change that.
Jayson, thanks for doing the
She-
show with us, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for staying so late. 2.5 hours. Go to bed.
All right. Bye.
Yeah. See you, Jason.
Bye, Jayson.
Have a good
Jason.
night.
Make sure to
Bye.
Unplug this.
Yeah.
I almost said dismount.
Bye, Robert.
Good night, man.
You unplug me somehow.
I don't know if my hand
There we
movement
go.
was in the.
I saw it, Austin.
I didn't drive it.
Okay,
Good.
would you move this
Okay,
chair?
we're good.
We're waiting on you,
I
man.
have a headphones.
I'm a little sad, and I think you could have just done this as a flashback. One of the cameos I would have liked in this would have been Patrick Stewart one more time. Since we brought him back for Doctor Strange 2, I was kind of
I'm glad
hoping
we
to see him
didn't.
here again. Just in a flashback.
We're gonna gang up on you, and I'm gonna say
Okay.
nope. I'm glad that didn't happen. And in fact, he was approached. I thought he was supposed to be in it, and then I was kind of surprised he wasn't. But
Only Patrick Stewart I would accept in this movie is the one from Origins. If we brought that model back, I
That'd be
would be
great.
more okay with it.
no, I'll say this, and keep in mind that the X-Men, the Fox X-Men universe being so all over the place, it didn't have to be Stewart. I would have been happy if it was McAvoy, and the reason I'm saying, part of the reason I'm saying that is she looks like McAvoy in the face. It's really
Right.
cool, but also like nothing against Patrick Stewart. I don't mean to be all ageist or whatever, but like. He's getting senile and he just can't do it anymore, and it's starting to get embarrassing whenever he comes back for these roles. And it looks like he doesn't know where he is, and people
I
are going to
kinda
start
wish-
screaming elder abuse if we do it too much longer.
Sleepy
Like,
Xavier.
yeah,
I kind of wish it was McAvoy and Doctor Strange 2, honestly. Like, that's the one where I think Stewart's send-off should have been Logan.
yeah. Would
That's
anybody
my-
disagree with that? I don't disagree with that.
But yeah, no, I get your point though about McAvoy. Where like, are you sad we didn't get any screen time with McAvoy and Cassandra Nova? Just because that is a perfect match.
No, I'm sad she's
Yeah.
not in a different movie. I thought she was fantastic in this. People complained before it came out, like, why on earth would you do Cassandra Nova in a Deadpool movie? She seems like the wrong villain. And you know me, I've always got a wait and see attitude. I'm like, yeah, it seems counterintuitive. I'm not sure why we would do that. Like, did they justify it for it being that character for this plot? Okay, yeah, I guess. But it's a little disappointing that that's maybe the only time we'll see her. Now, if we do her again, fine. You know, I like her fine here. But this shouldn't be the only time we get to see her. I hope when they do their X-Men movies later on, we do a Cassandra Nova and it's this actress again. Because I just thought she tore it up. I thought she was wonderful.
Yeah, for sure. My thing with Charles is I think, because I assumed he was like the one person that 100% would be in it because Cassandra Nova was the villain, and I feel like we lose some of Jackman's best stuff when he's talking about like finally living up to Charles's image of him, and that speech that he gives to her about Charles if he's in the movie.
Yeah.
But
Okay. Well, and her performance is great. Like, I don't think
Yeah, I agree.
she's like one of the best Marvel movie villains or anything, but the performance is great.
yeah,
She's the
she's
best
the
villain
best
of the
Deadpool
Deadpool.
villain.
Yeah,
but
that's my disappointment is in the right movie she could have been.
Sure. And there is a lack of screen time issue where we're introduced to her pretty late, and then she's gone for a while, and then she's back. So she just doesn't get a ton of screen time, and I think that's part of the clunky structure where we use the TVA as the villains to kind of get the ball rolling together, and then Cassandra becomes the villain, and then we're like kind of flip flopping with those two plots, and then try to tie them together. But maybe if she had more screen time, she would stand out a little more, like as like the definitive main villain of this movie. But I did like her.
She's just wonderfully
a role
twisted.
that's made by the actress.
Yeah, because there's not a lot there on paper. But I mean, the idea of I mean, her being that standard twisted Xavier works okay. We don't do a ton with it.
I've never read anything from the comics, so like I have nothing to compare this to. But I guess this thing when she like puts her hands in people's faces and head, like that's from the comics, and that looked really cool. So I thought that was neat.
They mentioned the fetus origin. They should have shown it visually, but I'm glad they at least mentioned it.
I guess she's a good mirror or foil for both Deadpool and Wolverine as these like kind of tragic characters with like really bad luck in where they start off from. And there's kind of a nature nurture thing with her where she got the bad end of the stick in the first place, and maybe she was always going to turn out that way. I like how she's given every opportunity to let people go and do the right thing, and she's just always telling you like, oh, by the way, you're gonna get murdered as soon as I have my faculties back again. Like she's pretty menacing in that way. It's fun.
Yeah.
Johnny Storm was right.
And where she can kind of like feign empathy. I liked all of that. And it was the first real taste of like morally bereft or ambiguous Xavier, even though it's not Xavier, because I've been really missing that. And yeah, we tried to do it next 3 with what he does with Phoenix, but it's lame.
Yep.
Well, and since we're talking about Cassandra Nova, I will say I think the weakest action scene in the movie is like the big fight at her place with our crew. It's just shot kind of clunky, a lot of shaky cam up close, quick cuts. Particularly with Elektra, like every time we cut to her, I was like, oh man, I know Jennifer Garner can do this, but like I don't think this is shot well. So I think that's the weakest action scene in the movie. I think Gambit gets some fun moments. I really enjoyed Channing Tatum's performance. I love how much he overdid the accent, but as I like the idea of that scene, but maybe that's the one that goes on too long.
That scene
since
is
it's
the
like
Guardians 3 hallway scene, but shot badly.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the weakest action scene in the movie.
100% easily.
And I was almost very upset because I thought X-23 Laura was dead, and that may have killed the movie for me. I was very upset when it looked like that's where we were going, because I was fine with the jabs at Logan and how we were addressing Logan, but killing her off goes too far for me, and that would have really bothered me. Because with the other characters, it works because they're the misfits, but she's from one movie that everyone really liked, and a lot of people didn't want to follow up to. So if you killed X-23, I would have been very upset. But I was glad she
I didn't read it as the same character.
I don't think the movie picks a lane on that because it feels
she has the same sunglasses.
Well,
that's what
sure,
I mean.
but
it feels like it could be like it feels like a variant, but also like it's the same one, but she's from that same universe, and it's
they don't get her at Deadpool's universe though.
Yeah, she's at the end. She's in the scene with all.
Oh, that's true. Is she going home though, or has she changed universes? I don't really know.
Well, but if Logan is the Deadpool universe, then she would be in her own universe.
Well, I can't remember where we picked her up.
I just thought all that was muddled. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought so too.
That just felt to me like they wanted that Logan X-23, but it also was like, is this a variant? I don't know.
It was worth it for me just superficially to get to see that character kind of grown up.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's a good chance they bring her back again.
Because I haven't seen, yeah, maybe so. I haven't seen
Probably.
that actress since Logan in anything. So for me, it was just fun to see her older.
Yeah, she was in I didn't watch it, but I know she was in the His Dark Materials show. That adaptation.
That's
like
yeah.
that's the big thing.
Now that you say that, I do remember
And she's
seeing
in
previews
Star
for that.
Wars: The Acolyte.
That's true.
Oh, she is.
She
Star
gets
Wars
the best fight scene.
Star Wars: The Aqualad.
Yeah, exactly. I thought she was going to be like the next big thing, and then I was wrong, I guess. Maybe there's still time.
Carl Maxey, $5 super chat. I never had a problem with Multiverse Saga. People behind the scenes weren't doing well with connecting them. We all loved the Miles Morales films. Well, not Austin because he can't see them, so he's not actually watched them.
And I hate Miles Morales because I'm racist, probably, I guess.
Austin, strike that for the record.
Austin, you're put and reverse it.
Austin's trying to do everything he can to make me have to start editing these things. God, I hate that. Where is my eject button? No, I have fundamental. So, like, you can win me over on anything. I never liked the Spider-Verse idea. Those movies are wonderfully character-driven, and they do really creative stuff with their multiverse, and they have clear-cut rules in a way that, as you alluded to, this thing does not. So it's flying by the seat of its pants, just like it was with Thanos and Infinity and everything. Like it does. Just write a series Bible, and they just won't do that. But the Spider-Verse movies absolutely do that. But I also have always had kind of fundamental issues with making it a whole saga with Marvel, just because I don't like the emphasis with a Marvel universe, and like Spider-Verse, yeah, it's an exception because they won me over. But with just like Marvel proper doing the multiverse thing and leading up to what is probably going to be kind of like a Crisis, like before DC, and in a very DC kind of way, I don't like that, and I don't like that. That's the way the like general public has been introduced to this idea with comics, partly because a lot of people hate it because they haven't handled it right, and partly because it's just not a Marvel thing. I mean, like, yeah, they always had different universes with What If, but they didn't have to cross all the time. It wasn't really about that. It was just a conceit so that you could see other cool versions of stories. That's all it was. DC was the universe that was all about having a bunch of timelines that crossed, and we do that with them going all the way back. So I just, as a comic fan, like call me, real fanboyish in complaining about this, but I never liked that Marvel did it first, and also they just haven't done it very well either.
And to your point, we made a What If show, and we didn't do What If right, so they already screwed that up.
And it's so disappointing because What If's one of my favorite things, and you gotta understand that, like, I'm a multiverse guy, and I have all the same complaints that a lot of people do when it gets very gimmicky and we use it as a crutch instead of actually telling cool stories and using it as a cool sci-fi concept. So, like, I'm the first person that wants to see cool multiverse stories. My first novel is a multiverse story. I like alternate dimensions as a concept. My favorite original series Star Trek episode is Mirror Mirror. Another universe that does not know how to do alternate universes very well much of the time, but
there's also a good Twilight Zone episode, or several probably.
Probably, yeah. Sorry, I kind of took that one over, but I had thoughts.
Yep.
But I mean, are you guys in the camp of, God, I just wish that multiverse wasn't the whole phase, or is it just in execution?
I just don't really like multiverse in general.
I'm a DC guy, so I like multiverse stuff. I'm used to it, and I don't mind that Marvel's doing it. I just don't think they've done it that well. But I also liked Spider-Man: No Way Home more than you guys did, so I don't know. But the Spider-Verse movies are like the best examples of that. Even though Spider-Verse as a concept I find kind of lame, but I like No Way Home, and I love the animated Spider-Verse movies. And here, I don't know, I'm just kind of, I'm ready for it to be over, but I know there is an ending with Secret Wars, so I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'll ride this out through Secret Wars. I'm just more bummed that What If sucked. I wish that was better. And I don't know,
It sucks so much.
with how much this movie uses cameos, like it's clearly more for jokes, and I was cool with that. So I don't know, it's not something I have strong feelings on. Like I just, when I think of the MCU stuff that's really disappointed me, I think of stuff like Moon Knight, stuff that has nothing to do with multiverses. So I have more issues with MCU right now than just, oh, the multiverse sucks and it's ruining Marvel. It's like, no, it's just a lot of projects in general that have been disappointing me, whether they use the multiverse or not. So that's just my opinion. I think there's more issues with MCU than just the multiverse.
I mean, you're not wrong. A lot of the worst stuff in the multiverse saga is not the multiverse stuff.
Yeah.
Or like Secret Invasion. Oh my god.
But I can't help but wonder if part of it is an attitude thing where it's like, we're going to do multiverse, we're going to oversaturate, we're going to have so many different worlds and things. I can't help but wonder if that would have been the strategy had they not led with the alternate dimension concept in the first place. Where they just have it in their heads that they have to throw a bazillion things at the wall now.
Well, I mean, they are slowing down, but we just had this glut.
No,
of
I know,
projects
because
to
they're
get through.
losing a ton of money.
Yep. I've always said that their next phase after Endgame should have been Secret Invasion. That should have been their next Avengers movie, but instead they make Secret Invasion a show. So whatever.
No,
I do think
that was the clear next step. I absolutely agree with you.
In a better world where Eternals wasn't Eternals publicly, I think some sort of like grand celestial thing might have been a good idea too.
Maybe we'll finally get that with Galactus. I mean, we'll see.
What I like about Robert's idea with doing a Secret Invasion, and I think you probably would have had to have like a shorter saga. I don't know if it would be through 2 whole phases, but what would have been nice about that, Austin, is you do a big cosmic thing with Infinity, and then you back off and you do something more terrestrial, even though it's got aliens, and then you do your big celestial thing after that. So it doesn't have to be constantly topping yourself. I mean, that's part of the problem with doing multiverse now, is like, where are you even gonna go from there?
But I'm just talking about like in how we link things. Like I always said, Secret Invasion should have just been Captain Marvel too. Like I don't really need that as like a connective tissue thing as opposed to just one movie.
Yeah, but it could have been really fun to have a whole bunch of characters that you're wondering through multiple movies if they're the people that you know they are or not. You could have done some great stuff with that.
Well, and it's just
maybe
weird
I feel like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, it's just weird that we haven't done a new Avengers movie. Like, we had a Phase 4 that had no ending. We're now in Phase 5, I guess. Yeah. And then Phase 6 is ending with Secret Wars. Like, they don't matter. There's no ending or start. It's just... And now we've retroactively decided, oh, this was the multiverse saga the whole time, even though Phase 4 had, like, no ending. Like, I think that's part of the problem is we just haven't had an Avengers movie yet to kind of tie some of this stuff together.
Okay,
no, and I agree with that.
I don't. I'm gonna split hairs for a second because the first saga had exactly the same thing. The place where I thought your phase would officially end was never the place where it ended. You always tacked one more random movie on.
Oh, I agree with that.
Like, why did we do that? So when you say they never had an ending, I'm like, neither did the first saga. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but they would at least have like a big event film and then some weird like adjunct or extra thing after it. But like,
okay.
What's the big event film we've had? Like Guardians 3? No, that's just a wrap up to the Guardians stuff.
Yeah,
like,
Black Panther 2, not really. Yeah. Okay, I hear what you're saying. But I mostly just want to pick a fight with you. But
yeah, like, but like
I just want a small Avengers movie, like.
Oh, me too.
Mixed in here at some point where it's not an event thing.
You naive fool! You're never gonna get that.
I know, but I wish I could. Where it's just Avengers and the Masters of Evil, Avengers and Friends. Give me something.
Okay, Austin, I'm gonna suggest something that because let me see if you agree with this, because I had not had this thought until you said Secret Invasion should have been one movie. Would the problem with doing it over... Sorry, we're getting off the rails here, but would the problem with doing it over multiple movies have been the kind of double beat with Winter Soldier? Because it's kind of too close to the same reveal, maybe.
And my thing with if you like spread that out is I feel like it would have the same like gimmicky thing where it's like I don't need multiple movies to be like, oh, is this character this character? I don't know. I just don't know if that would.
Well, that's what the
Uh,
comics
as well.
did.
I know, but the comics suck.
I never read it. I don't have a dog in that.
That's why I always said it should have been Captain Marvel 2. It should have been Civil War 2 Captain Marvel. Like it's just you
That's
take
fair.
this event, you put it into one movie, and you make it work as just a story.
And you make it better than the comics, yeah.
And you make it better than the comic. Yeah.
Oh my god, why does Skype keep throwing this stupid thing at me? Okay, anyway. I don't know why it's doing that. It keeps giving me an error message. Stop it.
Cap, you may hate Skype, but it ain't no lie.
That's over my head. I don't know what that means.
Bye bye bye.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Okay. Now I'm with you. I'm gonna read some super chats and get us back in this movie. We're 15 minutes from 3 hours. Let's see if we can actually cut this off at 3. Carl Maxey, $2 super chat. Ryan, play the dramatic scenes well. Educated wish. He did play the dramatic scenes well.
Yeah.
And he also said educated wish several times.
I had to think about what that meant, but that's true. Yeah.
That was like that. It's like a script writing thing, Austin, where like you latch on to a phrase that means something thematically, and then you bring it back 100 times.
hmm The only thing we're missing is because Robert brought up planes, trains, and automobiles. We never got the "I like me" speech. He just said, "I'm gonna fight you."
That's true.
I guess I need to finally watch that movie because I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
you
that's-
should.
that's
It's
what-
awesome.
I've
It's
never seen
great.
it.
And that's why they fight in the car. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's the
This
only way-
movie is planes, trains, and automobiles. Escape from New York, and there's another one, but I can't.
You
think
said
of what
something
it
about
is.
Old Boy, which I also have never seen. So
That's just the one fight scene.
well, yeah, but all these. Well, yeah, okay, but you also had just the one car fight scene.
The Deadpool scene is shot like almost the exact same as like a big famous fight scene from Old Boy, where it's like the kind of 2D brawler thing, and they do
Yes.
the same shot where a bunch of people run in, like push the main character off screen, and then he like pushes them all in.
Yeah,
Like that's like a direct reference.
I didn't understand any of those references, and so now I feel like I have all this homework I have to do.
Okay, well, Cap, since earlier you brought up the
Old
Wrath
Boy's
of
a
Khan,
comic book movie.
it's true, always great. But Cap, since you were talking about the Wrath of Khan scene earlier,
We went
that
from
also-
I've never seen this to now I have to own it. Like,
You do.
sorry, Robert.
But with the Wrath of Khan scene, it's that, but it also reminded me of the scene in Endgame when Hawkeye and Black Widow are like fighting over which one's going to make the sacrifice. I don't know if there's a name for that trope yet, but I feel like I've seen that a lot
There
now.
should be at
where
this point. Yeah,
It's two characters. One is going to sacrifice himself, but then the other character keeps fighting, and they're like.
I didn't
fighting
even have
to
that
do
thought. That's a good call.
I
Yeah,
feel like
I mean,
I've seen that a lot.
the only
but
reason I
Endgame's-
brought up Wrath of Khan is because like he directly references
Yeah.
it, but I would have thought of it anyway because it's pretty. It's also really funny that I'm sure they didn't do this on purpose, but the actual situation of like where they are and what they're trying to accomplish, and what that set looks like, it's actually a lot closer to darkness than even Wrath of Khan.
That's true. Also, I'm sure Austin thought of this, but
Stupid
with how
darkness.
with how they have to save the day and hold hands. I mean, that's just the Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's
thing.
Yeah, I did it.
It's
There's a
just
few
Guardians of the Galaxy.
places. There's a few places where I was like, this movie's a little bit Diet Gun.
Yeah. That's-
Even as much as I like the opening, the opening reminded me of like something that he would do. It was like Peacemaker mixed with like an action scene.
I was
like the
thinking
Guardians
gun
opening.
all through that too. Okay, Checkers put in a double super chat here, 5 and 2. Thanks a lot, man. He says they could have just made Logan a separate continuity and wouldn't have to do the multiverse thing. Is the variant thing kind of cheating in terms of having your cake and eating it too? I know a lot of people do feel that way, where it's like, well, I don't care that Hugh Jackman's playing a different version of Wolverine. He never should have come back.
I was hesitant about it too, but they won me over.
For me,
And-
it was a lot more about just like the quality of the thing. Like, I'm immediately skeptical where I'm like, well, I don't want him to come back for one last hurrah, and it's terrible. You know, and like,
Right.
yeah, he got a great send off, and I mean, my preference would have been not to do that, but I was more open to it than maybe I would have been because it's a thing these guys have wanted to do for a long time. You know, it's a little different
Yeah.
when they're basically taking $200 million and making that college project they always wanted to do. You know, like that's I kind of got to give them that to some degree. If it came from the studio head, it's different. You know, it
Right.
came from these guys that wanted to make a movie, and the original pitch. Well, there were kind of a couple they were banding around, but originally, Reynolds and Jackman were talking really hard about making it a like indie, really cheap, like low budget, like uh, cross country movie.
Which could have been cool. Like I might have enjoyed that. But
Yeah.
with what you're saying
Sorry,
earlier,
road
about
trip. They wanted to make a road trip movie.
a road trip, which is, I mean, there's a little bit of that in here, just with $200 million. But what we were talking about, how like what you were mentioning about throwing everything in the kitchen sink, it's like with the multiverse thing, whether you like it or not, we've already been doing it in Marvel. So if you're sick of it, I get it. But without the multiverse, then you don't get that montage where it's like every Wolverine ever that Jackman gets to play for a couple seconds. You get the brown suit, which made me very happy. You get the reference to the Hulk fight. So it's at least I thought, like I said, I was won over. And with the multiverse stuff, yeah, it's gimmicky, but it's a joke. It's a Deadpool movie. It's a little different than the other MCU stuff. So like I said, it won me over.
I don't fully understand what he means by this first part, because I'll read it again. He says they could have just made Logan a separate continuity and wouldn't have to do the multiverse thing. But like that's
Oh well, what he means is
Yeah.
that Logan is in a different universe, and Hugh Jackman just is a Wolverine in his universe, and you don't have to do anything with the multiverse.
Or what some other people wanted.
wait.
is
I'm sorry.
since-
I'm slow here. I still don't really understand what you're saying.
So Logan and Deadpool are in a different continuity, and there just is a Wolverine in Deadpool's continuity that is Hugh Jackman. So there's no multiverse aspect. It's just there is a Wolverine in his world that's Hugh Jackman. Is what he's saying.
Right. But then if you I'm with you now. But if you do that, you're now completely rewriting the impetus of the movie. It's got to be about
I
something
know. I'm
else now.
just translating it
No,
for you.
I'm
Yeah.
talking to checkers now. Now that I understand the comment, if that's what you did, it's now a totally different story, because there's two big things they want to do. They want to make Wolverine's death the impetus for the destruction of Deadpool's universe. That's his motivation for the whole movie, and they want to do it specifically with Logan so that they can attack head on the criticism of even making this movie. So as soon as you take all of that out, I don't really know how they accomplish all of that.
Yeah. And another, I mean,
Now-
what I thought,
As Austin said earlier, you can come up with smarter ways to do it, maybe where we don't have to be as convoluted about the X-Men timeline, but then also maybe they're doing that on purpose. So
yeah, it could just be the joke. And remember when this was announced like 3 years ago, and they said up front, like, no, Logan died in Logan, like, we're not changing that. What I thought originally they were probably doing was, oh, this will just be a Wolverine adventure set before Logan, which, remember, was set in 2029. So that's, I mean, still now technically the future. So, because remember, this is like before we started doing any of the multiverse stuff in the MCU. We just found out like 3 years ago, Hugh Jackman's coming back for Deadpool 3. That's all we knew. So I thought they were just going to keep it simple and say, oh no, this just takes place before Logan. But then you're right, like that changes the complete impetus of the movie, and you're then just talking about a completely different thing. So I didn't need this to be multiverse, and a lot of what they do doesn't make sense, but that could be the joke. But like I was fine with it.
It would have been way too retconny, though, even for Deadpool to make it a prequel, because Deadpool 2 opens with, oh, you killed Logan, I die in this one, and he's still, he's never gotten to meet or deal with Wolverine. It wouldn't make any sense that he's done that.
Yeah. Well, but also, this is in the same universe as Logan, which also makes no sense, so...
No, it does, but there at least isn't anything prequely like that where
Sure.
where Deadpool has done something with someone that he couldn't have.
Yeah,
You know what I
I'm
mean?
just putting
That's a separate issue. No, all I'm saying is I'm surprised that you thought they would make it a prequel thing. I would have never had that thought.
It's only because this is before we were doing multiverse in the MCU.
Oh,
that
sure.
So this was like around No Way Home, but we still didn't entirely know who was coming back or what was happening. Like I said, this was like 3 years ago, so memory's a little fuzzy.
I figured he'd be a robot. No, I
like
did
Captain
not.
Cloud.
Like Captain Cloud.
Like the Eternals, yeah.
Okay, great. $1.99. Where was Fry Cook Toad? Should have been in the diner. Well, notably, with the exception of Azazel, they didn't really go to characters from First Class or the 70s and Days of Future Past. It's kind of weird Azazel was there. They didn't do it with anybody else that I'm recalling.
Yeah, I think so.
And
well,
they,
Azazel and Bullseye are like the two like odd men out in that henchman group.
and they like to do to go back to the first movie X-Men designs for everything they could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
I'm a little surprised they didn't do a monosyllabic Mystique now that we're talking about it.
That could have been cool. Yeah, as in terms of like that main crew though of heroes, the others, if we could have had one more, I would have liked James Marsden as Cyclops. I know they didn't want too many X-Men because of Wolverine's story and what he's going through, but that's just the one where everyone agrees Cyclops was wasted in those movies, and everyone's still upset about that. So little, and a lot of people like James Marsden, so that redemption could have been nice to have him there.
Should have been Howard.
And then Sonic the Hedgehog shows up.
Yes.
Ugly Sonic.
And he's like, "Whoa, Deadpool, we gotta go fast."
Checkers.
Wesley Snipes is the only Blade. He spins away.
Checkers put another $2 super chat. There was a quick flash of Logan in the mind reading.
Okay, that makes no sense.
Oh, weird.
It really doesn't.
Since he's the worst Wolverine, they should have only shown Flash's really awful scenes, like the Cuckoo Cuckoo scene.
I will say, yeah. He got screwed.
Yeah, he did get screwed.
I would have liked to have seen a little more fleshing out of what exactly happened in this Wolverine's universe. I didn't need a flashback or anything necessarily, but I just wish they talked about what actually happened a little more, because I was lost on some of that. Like, I understand the basic gist of it, but again, since it feels like kind of a what-if thing, I kind of want to know why this Wolverine over, it sounds like really any other Wolverine in the multiverse, didn't join the X-Men. I wanted more about his background. Like, why was he so different from the others?
When my main thing was, I just thought it was kind of distracting when we finally get to it. They kind of just steal a thing from Dr. Sleep, where it's like they go into his mind and he's got like the people that died like in mind chambers like within them, where like he can't hear them scream anymore. And I was like,
oh, is that what was happening? I thought they were just gravestones.
I thought, yeah.
What?
That was what I got, because she has like a line about like, what? You silence their screams, or I don't know. Maybe I'm entirely wrong, but that's what I got out
I
of
think
it.
he silenced their screams by they're dead. And also, I thought there was some talk about. I didn't think it was just that he didn't join the X-Men and they died and he could have prevented it. I thought there was something that they talked about that he did that specifically made it happen, and I was really confused about all of that. But I need to see it again, because I don't know if I'm misremembering that.
I don't know about that, but it's like he was like right around where they were when they died, and then he like went full animal berserk Wolverine and like started killing like everyone after that.
Oh. He silenced their screams.
I was kind of hoping, when we were just speculating about the movie, I was hoping that's more the direction they were going, was, oh no, this is Wolverine that was mind controlled or whatever and killed all the X-Men.
Yes.
Or something.
That whole thing.
What they did I thought was fine, but like you said, they could have fleshed it out more.
Well, that's the Old Man Logan thing, right?
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised. I thought we were going to get just the straight up Old Man Logan, like you killed the X-Men thing.
They
Because
could've-
there is a lot of
they could've done
comic
that too.
Old Man Logan in this movie.
Yeah. And you still could have done the costume thing on top of that. I think it could have still tracked.
Yeah. Yeah, and the costume thing is really cool. Where
Often,
he wears...
Yeah, he wears it in tribute.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you going to say, Cap?
I didn't mean to step on you.
You're good.
I was just gonna say, you know what I thought when I saw what I thought were those gravestones.
What's that?
Those are people who died.
Died. Exactly.
One reply 65 SEK. I must leave for work, but great stream, guys. Glad you guys enjoyed the movie more than I did.
The best part is he
Well, I'm
left
sorry
a
you didn't
long
enjoy the
time
movie
ago,
as much
so
as
we
you
didn't get to hear us be like, "You're at work."
Yeah, no, he's probably been at work for an hour now. He's halfway through his shift. Checkers the Inventor, $2 super chat again. Thanks, man. Is X-Men Origins Deadpool the same character? No, I would make the argument, especially because we saw this Deadpool go kill him. So at least for these movies, they have separated it. So we're saying that for at least the gag of this, they've decided that everything in those movies counts, even though it can't possibly. But Origins is still the one exception to that because it's retconned everywhere. I think Origins is the only movie that you can't touch anything from, or say that it's in the same world that Deadpool's in. I think it's the one thing you have to ignore.
I'm gonna say it's all continuity. And he put his head back on, grew his hair back, and became Ryan Reynolds from the beginning of Deadpool.
No, that's what happened.
Yeah, that's what happened. And then he got his powers after that.
And then he got his powers, and then he went through Weapon 11 again.
Yeah,
but didn't remember that he did it the first time around.
Mm-hmm. And so then he went back in time and killed himself.
Wow, I'm gonna get a headache just thinking about all of that.
Well, it's also important to remember that Deadpool comes out after Days of Future Past, which was their big timeline reset, and then they pretended that could just solve anything and everything. It didn't matter. So it's not something I ever thought about too much, but point is Deadpool's post Days of Future Past, so it's after the timelines changed, and then according to Fox, that means anything goes.
Yeah.
They weren't consistent.
Well,
with
then
it.
again, Logan, as we've talked about a million times, has to be in an alternate continuity because it takes place only a few years after the year that we have at the end of Days of Future Past, but in a continuity where no new mutant has been born in 25 years.
Yes.
So that's clearly not Deadpool's world. You have Nega teenage. She's not even 25.
She's 35.
Oh, okay.
30 is the new teenage. Warhead.
If you guys are cool with it, I want to answer a couple more questions here real quick. Do you think this is the Nick rules? Because I haven't really responded to any pre-written stuff, so let me try to answer a few of these. Do you think any of it went too dark or mean, or being an R rating, it walked the line okay? I felt like it was deliberately going, we're Disney and somehow we got the R rating. Let's just kind of go nuts.
Yeah,
I liked that about it.
Violence wise, it does way more with the R rating, I thought, than the first two did. So that was cool. I don't know about like the dark aspect, but
yeah, I didn't think it was any darker than one or two, just in theme and stuff. Subject matter.
Yeah, I mean, like if like vulgar language or sex jokes and stuff bother you, I mean, there are a lot of those here, but the first Deadpool movie also goes a lot further with like actual on-screen nudity and sexuality, but this one also has more violence. So I don't know, they're all kind of on par with each other to me, just tonally in terms of violence and just the rating. Like I didn't have strong feelings about this compared to those, like one way or the other. Like, yeah, it's a Deadpool movie. I don't think it's appropriate for kids, but a lot of kids are at my screening, so.
I'm a bad father. Leo, I didn't bring any of my other kids. Leo, after watching the movie, I'm glad Hugh Jackman came back. He's easily the best part of the movie.
He's great.
Yep, I agree.
Carl Maxey. Brandon is Captain Logan's Peter.
So every Captain Logan has a Brandon.
I think we just already knew that.
Except instead of being like, yeah, it's Brandon, they're all like, let's review him.
Carl was also choked up at the Fox tribute. Yeah, I'm a sap. That just really got me. Meanwhile, Austin's in the bathroom.
Yeah, crying because I finally got to go after 40 minutes.
He also had tears down his face, but for a very different reason.
Yeah,
One reply, the car scene was the best part of the movie. Jackman's line delivery was great in that scene. I'm not remembering that as well as you guys, and I'm gonna need to see it again because it sounds like that was a big highlight for people, and some of it's not sticking with me now.
There's a great part where he's like talking about how you can't save the day, and then he says something. I'm trying to remember what exactly it is. He's got like a whole thing about how God made it so that he couldn't die as a joke on him because he's so pathetic. But then the joke's ultimately on all of them because they have to deal with him. His whole speech there is really good.
It's great. I wish I got to see the movie a second time to have more of it stick, but I did love the scene.
Yeah,
that was the Oscar clip.
Yeah.
There's so much
I
in
don't know
this
if I
movie.
can.
This is one of those that usually I would have tried to see a second time, and I just did not have the time this weekend. Michael Bisping felt like an SNL skit stretched 2 hours long. No more Deadpool. Reynolds will have to prance around somewhere else. I mean, I think you'll see him as this character again. I don't know if you'll ever see another single Deadpool movie. That's hard to say.
It just depends on how Secret Wars plays out and how they go about it.
And how people react to the heartfelt Thor scene that will definitely be there.
Who are we teaming Deadpool up with next?
Thor.
Okay. Can I make a prediction?
No.
If what?
Even though I just asked you.
No.
Okay. Okay.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so the payoff to the Thor crying scene is it's going to be a callback to the scene in Thor 1 when Thor almost died, but then Deadpool's going to be resurrected by Mjolnir because he's worthy, and we're going to get a big Deadpool Mjolnir moment. That's my prediction. We're getting
And
that.
Anthony Hopkins will come back to give the nostalgic line reading of
Hey! I'm probably wrong, but we'll see.
So
I definitely
Austin, when
think
you say
Deadpool's-
predictions, are you just being facetious, or do you really expect another team up movie at some point, like Deadpool and someone?
No, I feel like that's maybe a way that they will go. But
Yeah,
I
I
don't
can
know.
see it too.
I'm
The ampersand movies.
it's the Marvel team up movies. I mean, the big one that I think a lot of people expect now will be Deadpool and Spider-Man as
Sure.
a sequel.
And I don't want that movie, but I'm sure Sony
No,
wants to make it.
Because it'll just be the two of them being annoying together. This works because one of them's annoying and the other is like, shut up.
I'm just thinking of smaller X-Men things that I'd love to see on screen, but wouldn't, obviously have a draw for like the whole audience. You know what I mean? But like, I hope that I don't know if they'll even think to do this, but I hope that when they start doing, proper X-Men movies, we eventually get a Phantom X, and like Deadpool hanging out with Phantom X would be really cool.
I'm going to pitch the title for the Deadpool 4 will be Deadpool, Wolverine, and Channing Tatum's Gambit, Foxmen All Out Attack. That will be the full title.
How long did it take you to come up with that? Because I could see you reading it off your monitor.
Well, no, it's a Godzilla reference.
I know, but it still looked like it was hard to keep it all straight.
It was, because it's like that. I don't want to mess it up. I had it in my head, I was like, I don't want to skip a word.
So it'll be Deadpool 4, right? So it'll be called Deadpool 4-Stick?
Let's make it happen. Deadpool 4 stick.
It's right there, man. It just rolls off the tongue.
Let's finally commit to the joke and have it be called the untitled Deadpool 4-stick film.
The Nick Rules had a follow up. Really didn't care for this movie. He says, I mean, the Logan skeleton thing rubbed me the wrong way, just a little, for example, even if it was good action wise. To me, that was getting ahead of that and just seemed like it was in exactly the right spirit of these movies.
Mhm.
And
Deadpool
I'm holding
2
it to a different standard because of what it is. Like, I'm sorry, I stepped on you there, Robert.
Oh, I was just saying that Deadpool 2 already addressed it. So, like what Austin's saying, there is this kind of weird through line with setting up Wolverine for 2 movies and then actually paying it off, and us being concerned about them ruining it, and they literally desecrate his grave, and that it worked for me. I could see that not working for me, but I was fine with it, especially since they bring X-23 back and treat her pretty seriously, and then she's back at the end. So I thought the 2 worst things they could do for me personally to ruin Logan would be to literally resurrect that version and to kill off X-23 and kind of ruin the story and arc of that. So I was fine with it. I could see that joke not playing for everybody, but I'm with you that they just get ahead of it and go all the way.
I'm even more detached from it than that because, Austin, I'm starting to wonder if having things that don't make sense in the same continuity actually helps this point, because it's a lot more easy to separate Logan as just a singular piece from all of this, where it's like, well, this is taking that material and kind of parroting it, satirizing it, and adding stuff to it in like its own world. It's so easy to look at Logan as just a standalone piece that nothing else touches. Like,
yeah,
if you,
yeah,
all I'm saying is it's real easy, and I'm not a big headcanon guy. It's real easy to headcanon, well, that's not actually the skeleton from Logan, because he can't even be in Deadpool's universe.
They might as well have just had Deadpool just straight out come out and say, if you're mad I desecrated this, you've never had gay sex before.
Jayson didn't get to mention this, but one of his favorite things was that they put Hugh Jackman's name on the forehead of the skull.
Yeah,
yeah, I noticed that.
As the skin peels off.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I can still watch and appreciate Logan as a completely standalone thing. And some people don't even like Logan, because they feel like it undoes the happy ending of Days of Future Past. And like we've talked about, like those 2 don't even match up. So it's fine. It's just its own thing.
Yeah, none of it matters.
AMC says he needs to message me privately because there's something really urgent he has to tell me about.
Uh-oh.
What that? And he keeps saying it, like, really need to message guy. I wonder what's going on.
Do you have an email? Do you still have a Geek
Oh,
Solution
he's
email?
saying he got locked out of something?
I think he got locked out of his Discord account.
I'm in deep trouble. It's not funny. What? I'm just wondering what I'm supposed to do to help him about that. I'm not sure what's going on.
I don't, but do you still have a Geeklusion email? He can just email you. Is that good?
He says, I don't
that?
want to go to federal prison.
What?
I don't know.
What is
He's
happening?
I don't.
Yeah,
That's all I got.
I'll throw my email in here. Okay. I hope he's all right.
I did see that comment.
It sounds like I'm the only person that can save him, though, and I don't know if you know this, but I'm not a superhero.
AMC Comics, blink twice if you're okay.
Okay, any quick final thoughts, guys? We've ridden this out into the sunset here.
Boy.
Sorry it's so late.
Austin's
looked ready to die for the last half an hour.
I didn't even realize we finished the super chats. So yeah.
I just went back for 10 minutes right at the end there and tried to answer a few pre-writtens because I didn't hit any of those before.
Can I break the swearing rule for one word in order to tell the story about my leaving the theater?
Yes,
I'm sorry. Yes, you've been wanting to tell me this for days, and why didn't you tell me the story last night?
I didn't know about this.
I know. I realized it afterwards, and I was like, "Damn it!"
Adam March, despite the name Captain Logan, he's not an actual superhero.
Captain Kirk's a superhero, damn it. According to the song 99 Red Balloons.
Exactly. So I was driving down the road, as you do when you're leaving the theater, and got my windows down. I'm cruising, blasting music, and I'm thinking about like that opening sequence. I was like, oh, that was so good. And that song's now stuck in my head, and I'm like, I don't like that song. But like, when you get a song stuck in your head, you're like, I have to listen to it.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I put that on. So I'm like blasting Bye 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 as I drive down the road, just like with my windows down. And I look in my rear view mirror and I see a bunch of Hell's Angels riding up, and they all ride by me. And I get into the next lane. I ride around them. We stop at a red light, and I pull up right next to these like cool looking Hell's Angels guys. I got my arm out the window, blasting Bye Bye Bye. I look over, and one of them looks at me and just starts like revving his engine like crazy. Where it's like, so whenever anybody does that, to myself, I will go, yeah, we get it. You have a small penis, and then keep driving. So I look over at these Hell's Angels guys, while blasting Bye Bye Bye, and they're revving their engines, and I look over and I go, nice small cock, and then drive away. It was awesome.
Okay, I wish I had let you tell me that story last night so that I could tell you not to tell it on stream.
I asked if I could break the swearing rule.
Well, yeah, but it's not just the swear; it's just the content. I let you tell that story on stream.
Just it was funny.
You've let Austin tell way worse than that.
That's probably true.
Let's be honest, Cap. This is not the worst thing you've got me doing. That's all I got.
Well, really appreciate everybody that is unsubscribed but watched this for as long as they did. Anyway, it's cool to see Luton's in here. I haven't seen him in a long time. Did you guys think Loki season 2 was removing multiverses and now it's just like anyone can do anything and be anyone? I haven't seen that yet, so I didn't.
I can explain how the Loki stuff ties into this, but I don't know if you have time for that tangent. That's a different conversation.
Yeah, maybe we should have done it earlier. I mean, you having seen that, do you think they handled it well enough where it works for people that didn't see that? Because the majority of the audience will not have bothered with that.
I think the vast majority of these people seeing this movie don't know what the TVA are, and they're just kind of taking the movie on its own terms. Like, I'm sure a lot of people saw Loki season 1 and didn't watch season 2, but
I wondered if I would have appreciated Paradox more if I had seen that, because he's so mustache twirly and just, I want to run the TVA. But I didn't really understand his whole thing about shutting down universes prematurely. I didn't really get why he was doing that.
I'm with you there, but the idea more is that he wants to get the TVA back to what it used to be. Because, spoiler alert, the TVA at the end of Loki Season 2 is trying to save the multiverse and keep the whole multiverse going instead of destroying reality. So he wants to get back to what the TVA used to be. That's the short version. So, yeah.
So is Loki like the time god or whatever in this movie?
Yes.
And don't explain it to me because I'm going to fall asleep.
So the idea is that they've become more benevolent, but he wants to go back when they were cold and unfeeling and...
Right.
Okay.
He's like the one guy that's like, no, Kang is cool. Let's keep going with Kang.
Yeah.
Draven, I don't think Paradox was in Loki, was he? The way they introduced him, I assumed that was a pre-existing character. Is he new?
No, he is not in Loki.
I think the only one that's from that show is the black woman that shows up. That's
because she's in one. She's I think that's just the woman that runs it from the beginning.
I was surprised that Owen Wilson wasn't here.
So was I.
And he was rumored.
I thought he was supposed to be.
Like, he could have been.
So,
yeah, I thought that was odd.
I wondered if maybe they killed him, but I didn't know that.
Wow, Deadpool.
He's good in that show, though.
He is good in that show.
Yeah.
And if they ever do an alternate cut of this, you made a really good point that this is a Disney Marvel movie and they never do extended cuts, so maybe they won't. All I know that was cut, besides some footage in the trailers that isn't here, is a scene with the guy from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Rob something.
Rob McElhenney.
Right, yeah. I think he was one of the TVA guys, and he had a
Yeah, I
scene that
assumed he was
cut,
a
so-
Deadpool until I looked it up. But
Yeah, so that's the only but if they ever do an extended cut of this, I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed because I doubt there's going to be any major cameos or multiverse stuff.
Yeah.
I think it'll just be more jokes.
Austin, what am I remembering? Isn't there an exception to this now where there's one MCU movie that got a longer cut? I can't. Maybe I'm wrong. For some reason,
there was
remember
talks about it with Infinity War, but then we never got it.
maybe that's what I was thinking of.
I don't know, but if they do one
Oh
for
no,
this, it should-
it's No Way Home got a different cut.
That's true.
Well, and Far
That's
From
the
Home
one.
technically did, but they didn't release it on home video.
Yeah,
Did
No Way
Did
Home's-
No Way Home
Home's the big
get a
one.
release for that other cut, or was it just in
Yeah.
the theater? Okay, well then
No,
that's what I was thinking of.
Oh, I've only seen that cut in the theater. I've yet
It's
to
on
see that on home
Netflix
video.
here, that cut too. They
Oh,
weird.
weird.
Literally have No Way Home and the Betty Brant cut too.
And I didn't go.
Yeah, both versions.
I've never seen it.
I didn't.
They just
I don't
added
know
a
if
bunch
it's
of
on
scenes
streaming
with
here.
Betty Brant. It's the Betty Brant cut.
Oh wait, that's all they did?
If they do another cut for this movie, it should be Deadpool and Wolverine. Logan is gray, and it's the black and white version.
Well, I think they should do a Betty Brant cut.
I mean, they should also do a Betty Brant cut where they just add, they just green screen her into every scene.
Well, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Can either of you guys think of anything else that really needs to get mentioned before we get going?
No, I liked it. Is it the most overhyped movie of the year? Yes, yes, it is. But I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I just appreciate that it was as fun as it was, and that I actually want to go back and see it again, given that it's the only movie they're putting out this year. And I feel like it's kind of appropriate if this is the only one we get that it's like 6 movies. Sort of, you know what I mean? Where it's got MCU and it's got Fox X-Men, it's got all this other stuff. It's kind of fun. It's like they get one, and it's from all these franchises. That's kind of cool. I don't think it's intentional. I think they just had to put off Captain America because they kind of screwed that up initially. But
I think
And
this
they had
was
to
supposed
put
to
off
come out.
Asterix because Asterix.
No, I thought this was supposed to come out at the end of last year, but was pushed back because of the writer's strike. I could be wrong.
it
but
would
I
have been
think
really
this
funny
was
if it came
pushed
out
back.
and then they had nothing this year. You guys are a little
The only
late on
thing
that.
they have for the year is Agatha.
Oh yeah.
And Marvel Zombies, I
I
think.
keep forgetting about that.
Oh, is Marvel Zombies out this year?
That's supposed to be, yeah.
Oh.
It's still got a 2024 date. I don't know when it drops, but
All I know is that the Penguin and Agatha release a day apart, so it's going to be really hard to pick which one I'm watching, guys.
yeah, I think they might split the audience.
Yeah. Can we get Penguitha online going?
It was Penguin all along. Everybody, thanks for watching. We're going to get going now. We'll see you again with lots more streams here on Geekvolution. I was Captain Logan, and we had Austin, and we've got Robert, and we had Jayson earlier, but he's gone now. And, I don't know, we had somebody else, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that
Oh,
ginger
John.
guy.
Yeah, John was here.
Sorry, John.
Thanks for your contribution, John, 2 hours ago.
He's the Johnny Storm of the show.
All right, appreciate you guys. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Right.